He thought he was in control. How wrong he was.
Come to the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in. Come to the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in movie club.
From the deepest corner of the darkest universe, two brave hosts battle through nameless hordes of ghoulish monsters most foul, all to bring you the eternal glory of the Dark Side Drive-In.
It's the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in. Come to the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in movie club. It's the dark side, drive-in. Come to the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in movie club.
Hey, what's up? It's Shane with Dynamis Media, and I'm joined here with Stefan.
Hello.
And you are tuning into the Dark Side Drive-In, which is our horror-themed podcast where we cover movies from the 80s, 90s, and sometimes 70s, and possibly maybe 50s and 60s if we get kind of spicy. I don't know. Well, you know. But Stefan.
No one can stop us.
I had a question for you about this movie that we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Wait,
Well, you're coming in hot. I have no. You're zigging where I think you're gonna zag right now.
Dude,
I have
I'm
no
just
idea what's going on.
zigging, duck, dive, dip, dodge, and dive, or whatever. I don't know.
Dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Have you ever gone to summer camp?
I did one time. Yeah,
Okay.
I went to one summer camp thing.
So, like, did you guys do the whole campfire thing where you sat around and like talked?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got this really good song that I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
Did
no.
you guys sing? Did you guys do the song? You ready? Like, and tell me if you know this one, because just hold on.
Sure.
Lore of the campfire, telling of his horror. Lost in the woods with the madman and the stars. Don't laugh at the tale. Heed if you call him. The legend is beware the Madman Marz.
That song? Do you know that song?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, from camp, right?
Yeah, from my the Christian summer camp I went to, we definitely sang songs about a madman murdering people and not praise songs. Definitely that.
Folks, that took me 8 margaritas to be able to do live on air. So
Yeah, the main beware the Madman Marz thing, like the way that they stretch out that first part, the legend lives, beware the Madman Marz. It's like they like stretch out the beginning and then they like rush through the end. It's like the Mars
so
part is
good.
the money shot. Why are you rushing through that? That's what we're here for.
My Wesleyan Methodist upbringing has prepared me for that weird cadence of lyrics.
That's the church camp I went to. It's a Wesleyan Methodist camp.
Yeah,
that's
Old
exactly what
Testament.
it was.
Woo! Oh man. Yeah,
Oh man, there's this song they'd sing called Sanctuary. Like, oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary.
Yes.
Oh my God, I hated it so much. So I only made it one time to the camp. And then I didn't. I think I went with my youth group a couple more times to different ones, but that particular church
don't
camp,
let
I
him
only
come
went
back.
one time. No, I was fine. I was weird. I've always been weird, but like not dangerously so.
You didn't
my mom's gonna love this part.
Yeah, right.
This
You
part
didn't
of the
trail off
podcast.
and go to weird houses like mid camp.
There's nothing like around there really. And actually, the one time I went, it was like a really short camp, and they have like stables at this camp, and they made us ride horses, and because I was like kind of like because a summer birthday, I was like always in between for age groups, so I was actually a little older than a lot of the other campers at this thing, and they gave me the most wily and like difficult horse, and I'm like, just because I'm older doesn't mean I understand how to operate this creature. So then, of course, the thing walks me into a barbed wire fence and tears up my jeans. And I'm like, I hate horses and I hate camp. So horses and I have never gotten along ever since. It's been an issue.
That's fair.
I guess that was all they had. Yeah, sorry. Did you expect more from that story? Just like, and then like 10 years later, the horse looked me up and jumped me outside of a concert.
Yeah.
I don't know. The horse
Rode me.
He showed up with a shiv and he shanked me in the parking lot after a Steelers game.
He double barreled you to the mouth, you know.
What, like it's like with a gun? Yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, we will.
Folks, if you're wondering what movie we are covering today, we are covering Madman, which is part 2 of our hit segment. Or hit, was it a segment?
It's like a block. I'd say. Yeah.
Our hit block, the Summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON. So this is the second annual Summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON. First we covered Intruder, which I'm sure by now you've listened to. And now we're doing Madman. And you know what? You're going to have to wait till the end to hear what we're doing next. We teased some material and no one guessed correctly or at all. So, yeah. But,
Did they even get? I didn't even know they were supposed to try to guess. I was.
I don't know. I think I said like, do you know what we're doing for part 3? And like no one like read or did it.
No one even.
But hey,
cared.
Mr. Watley, I'm looking at you, pal. You're keeping us moving. You're just putting fire everything we do on Instagram. You just fire. So I appreciate you. So thank you.
It's the kind of like encouragement. Like that's the kind of like positive reinforcement that we need. It's just someone to interact with our posts and make us feel like we're not just shouting into the void.
So I thought he was a bot, and then I responded one time, and he responded back. I was like, holy shit, that's a real person. So, yeah, Mr. Watley, looking at you, pal.
Just an appreciator of fine internet content,
yeah.
I guess.
Definitely. But, hey, you know, before we really dig into Madman, which I have
Madman Marz?
Madman Marz. I have some thoughts, and I know, I think, okay, hold on. Do you think, like, can you guess where I'm at, like, litmus test with this one?
Probably not coming in as hot as I am on it, because okay. I watched it the first time and I fell asleep and I was like, this thing sucks. And I watched it after that. I was like, oh wait, this thing actually rules. This is too cool for school, if you ask me. Because Summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON, you see, it's summer, so school's out, baby. I don't know. I was doing my best. Hold on, let me try it again.
Are you 18?
Wait, is that another song? Alice Cooper song?
It is.
I thought it was 17.
Well, I think he has a song where it's like, I'm 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the 17 was a different hair metal band song.
Yeah.
Probably something creepy. I bet Drake would be a fan of that. I mean, Count Dracula would be. Don't say the real Drake. He could be litigious.
Yeah,
he could sue us.
Now we'll call Kendrick. He'll save us. Kendrick the werewolf.
Kendrick the werewolf. Yeah. So, I think we're gonna be on different sides of the spectrum on this guy. But hey, we'll find out, won't we?
We'll find out. So, we got to get into why we're all here.
The reason for the season.
The reason for the season. The host with the most, ghost, toast. I don't know. I don't know anything else rhymes with that. But hey, so
roast.
We're getting to the
creepy questionnaire.
Wait, Darkside Dave, you're here? Oh wait, hold on.
I'm always here. Your Switch was dead, so I had to read a book on your Kindle.
I'm what was and will never be.
What are you reading? Is this something on Kindle Unlimited?
No, I used the one-click purchase using your Amazon account.
No, Dave, I have Kindle Unlimited. Just read something that's free on there.
I refuse to abide by your rules.
And ghouls.
And ghouls.
Hey, Dave, is it All Comes Out in the Wash, written by PC Rally, friend of the show?
Well, that would probably make a lot of sense as a plug if it was. But no, it's Twilight Breaking Dawn, actually.
No, the natural
I have to
occurring
finish
werewolves.
the series.
I have to know how the story ends. How do things end up for Bella and Edward?
Dave, I've got bad news for you, friend.
What's the bad news?
It ends extremely how you think it would. So.
Oh, with very little conflict or sacrifice or character building. Great. Just how I like it. Nothing changes. Yeah, I was talking to Darkside Dave about this earlier. He hates weathering and erosion because he likes rock formations to remain the way they are.
Ah, yes, nice.
If the gods intended rocks to change, then they would change quickly. And I would be able to witness the change. Not have to wait a millennia for it to change in front of my eyes that I don't have. Because I don't have eyes. Remember that? That's part of my lore. All right, Dave, get out of here. We have to do the creepy questionnaire. Go here. I'll charge the Switch for you. You can get back to Shining Pearl. I know that you were working on getting to the Elite Four. No, I want to play Legends Arceus. Well, I have that too. You can play that one instead. And Darkside Dave sure does love his Pokemon games.
He sure does. That's why we love him.
That's why, yeah.
So last time on the creepy questionnaire, we talked about this question: which 2014 movie features a fatal curse that means Maka Monroe is pursued by a demon only she can see? And Stefan, you guessed?
I guess It Follows.
And you were correct. And so
of course I was.
Most of the people that DM'd me and responded. So y'all are the best. So thank you so much for interacting. I was actually surprised by the amount of DMs that I got. So
people sliding your DMs to answer the question.
Don't like commenting on the page. I was actually shocked by that. So yeah. But hey, totally cool. I responded to you and told you were correct. So good for you. I think you're gonna get this. I don't know, man. This is I didn't know this. So, but you were saying before we recorded that you had like a handful of possibilities that you might be using. So I'm guessing you settled on the harder one of the 2 or 3 you're looking at. I did. So one of them was like I literally probably didn't have to finish the question for you to understand what the answer was. The second one was a Italian 80s horror question, which I know you would have nailed. But you know, this one is pretty interesting. It's a 90s movie, so we're gonna really test you here, I think. But maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. So, all right. Are you ready?
Hey, I'm the readiest I've ever been.
I want to make some explosions after that or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but you have to make it clear that I'm not looking at the explosion. I'm walking away. Because I have to be cool. Like I'm putting on sunglasses. The only problem is I'm also wearing glasses, so I just put sunglasses over my regular glasses, so it's not actually that cool. But if you do it with enough confidence, Shane, anything is cool, right?
I mean, you are correct on that one.
Ask David Caruso from the movie Session 9. Have you ever seen that movie Session 9?
I have. That's so funny.
Yeah, that's David Caruso.
Oh my God. Do you think that's why they put him in the CSI Miami?
Because of Session 9? No.
With the sunglasses thing?
I mean, I don't think it factored into it at all.
That's a bummer.
Did I watch that with you? Who did I watch Session 9 with?
I don't know.
I feel like I watched it with my mom, of all people.
Oh, man.
Which, like, looking back on it, it seems like it might be a little bit too gruesome for her now, because she doesn't like really gory movies. That gene skips a generation. Although that implies that my grandparents may have liked gory movies, and I don't think they did either, so... Never mind. Hey, I'm going to do this question.
All right. Are you ready?
Readiest I've ever been, baby.
All right. Which 90s slasher movie was adopted from a novel by Lois Duncan?
Adapted, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I said. Did I say adopted?
90s, you said adopted, yeah.
Son of a bitch. It was adapted. No, actually it was adopted. That's even That's funnier.
Wait, they put adopted in the thing?
No, it's adapted. I'm just a dumbass.
Oh, okay. All right, well, let's think 90s slashers. Now, the big ones. Scream was an original IP. That was all Wesley Craven.
There you go. Wes the Mess Craven.
Let's think of our young teen stars as we know at Westminster. Even though he taught like well before like any of us who were.
We went through that. We went through that, and Jim. Oh shit! Someone hates him.
You're not gonna say his name because he's passed away.
I'm gonna tell you, I respect this man more than anything, and he has probably been the coolest dude to me ever. So for folks, just a little inside baseball. I used to work for the college that I went to. I was part of the IT department, and I was able to, I don't know, I was good at doing like fixing computers, so they hired me full time. So I became friends with a lot of the staff, and one of the staff was an English professor who had the opportunity to work with Wes Craven. So if you can imagine the age of that person, I think what we said, Wes Craven worked there in the 60s. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. Well, we can say his name, right?
Yeah, it kind of freaked me out that you were like being all.
Well, I just like look, he has passed. His name's Dr. Jim Perkins, published author, fucking certified badass. So yeah, he hates Wes Craven. He thought he was a weird motherfucker, is the quote that he said to me. So yeah, Jim, you're the best. I miss you deeply. So anyways, back to your Lois Duncan novel.
Okay, so the big slasher franchises of the 90s. We got Scream, which I know is an original IP. That was Wes Craven all day. You got your Urban Legend. You got your
that was a good movie.
Yeah, some of the franchises that limped on, like we still had our Fred Krugers, we still had our Jasons popping up and wreaking havoc. Child's Play was getting a little hot there for like the early to mid 90s.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know Fred Krueger's Wes Craven too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, it'd be funny if I didn't. I'm like, what?
What?
No. Then why did they call it Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
Jim was right.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. They had a handful of those. I think they did a reboot of that recently. Then you have your lower tier ones. So it's got to be a bigger one then. So I'm going to say that like the top ones are probably like your Urban Legend, your Scream, your I Know What You Did Last Summer. I actually don't know for sure. I'm going to say I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think that's the one. Because I think I remember, I'm not a huge fan of that. I thought, although that scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar gets ganked right when she's almost out of like the alleyway or whatever was pretty cool. That was a cool scene.
Very cool.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that I remember hearing that was based off of a book. I don't know the author and I don't know what the book is. But if you're saying that there's a slasher based off of a book, I'm going to have to go off of that apocryphal knowledge that I have somehow. And I'm going to say, I Know What You Did Last Summer. So that's my answer. Lock it in. Final answer.
All right. Okay, Regis, are we good?
I don't know. Is it going to end up actually being Popcorn? Are you familiar with the movie Popcorn?
Yeah, that's funny.
It's a good movie.
That's a solid reference. But yeah, I appreciate the guess. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Very cool movie. Not my favorite 90s slasher movie. Scream probably takes it for me there, but
not Popcorn.
Hey, do you think oh my god. Yeah, not Popcorn. But do you consider, so Final Destination is not a slasher, but like it has that vibe. Do you know what I mean? Right? You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, like the thing about a lot of slashers is it's like the death is coming for you. The only difference is death has a face, and it's whoever the slasher killer is. So yeah, I get what you mean. But I low-key kind of hate the Final Destination franchise. Like, I do appreciate some Rube Goldberg complicated death scenarios.
Yeah.
Like, all day long. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But it's like if I ever survive anything, I'm like, well, damn, I'm toast. I'm doneZilla. Like I've survived like a car crash, and then death's like, oh, you're not gonna get away with this. I'm gonna do an even more horrific death for you. You just wait. I don't know why death sounds like a grumpy dad.
Like, oh, she's pregnant.
You're not gonna escape me. Oh, here I go killing again. So yeah, there you go. The Final Destination movies, I just feel like the logic is kind of faulty. Hey, the logic of a movie where death kills people in increasingly complicated and ridiculous ways is a little bit too far for me. A little bit outside of my suspension of disbelief threshold, as you will.
So speaking of that, I think that's why that Family Guy episode hit so well. That joke is so funny. And he has to kill the cast from Dawson. Was it Dawson's Creek? Or
oh yeah.
Yeah, they're like singing the theme, and he has to like wreck the plane they're on.
There's going to be an error, pilot error, and then he accidentally kills the pilots.
Yeah,
that was a good episode.
Yeah, well,
okay, there you go. I guess. Also, I really like the I know you did last summer. I just want to talk about it in case I am right, and even if I'm not right, whatever, I'm going to talk about it. So that one had Jennifer Love Hewitt was in it, Sarah Michelle Gellar was in it, and weren't there some other like really really big ticket people in that one? And isn't that the one with the scene where the girl's like, "What are you waiting for?" She's like yelling outside.
Yeah,
is it that one? And then
yes.
Scary Movie made a reference to it, which was really funny. The first Scary Movie
with Anna Faris doing it.
Before they got too ridiculous for me. Yeah, I love that. I love that one. For some reason, I thought Shannon Elizabeth was in that, but I don't think she actually was in it.
Did you say Shannon Elizabeth?
Yeah.
No,
for some reason, I thought that she was also in it, but I think I'm just mixing up my like 90s era young attractive stars, just mixing them up, like throwing them into each other's stuff.
So you have Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, Anne Heche, Freddie Prinze Jr.
I know you're not going to skip Bridget Wilson because
Bridget Wilson, she's in it. Johnny,
she's
Galecki.
the sister of Sarah Michelle Gellar's character. Yeah,
yep. Yeah, you got Johnny Galecki.
Oh, I forgot Johnny Galecki was in it. Yeah, he was like red herringed a few times, right? Like he thought he might be the killer or something until he gets himself killed, right?
Yep.
Man, it's been so long since I watched that movie. It's like all these other that era movie. I feel like because of like consuming so much horror content, I'm starting to like my memories are starting to like merge and change into something like an amorphous creature, like a critter from Harbinger Down.
Yeah. So you still have like the sequel. I'm just like, who carried over? So
is that the one that's I Still Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah. And you still have like Jack Black's actually in this one, which is awesome. Which is pretty funny to me, but there's actually more famous people in the second one, but yeah. Well, folks, we as much as we love the 90s, we do have to stay in the 80s for this one. So I think it's time. Do you think it's time, Stefan?
I don't know. I'm too busy be wearing the Madman Marz over here.
Damn it! I was gonna that. How dare you take my joke? All right, I'm gonna sing. You didn't.
Okay.
I'm gonna sing the song
you need
again. Hold on.
You can sing the song, but you can't blame me for stealing your jokes when you don't tell me when you're gonna do the jokes because I'm gonna take them low hanging fruits every time.
You are the king of the zingers, if we have to say. But hey,
the Zing King.
You know, last time
on Dragon Ball Z.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z. Anyways, last time on last episode, you introduced a critically acclaimed segment. I mean, I will say like a 5 out of 5.
Are you talking about?
That's a lot of guts.
And that's it. And do you think this lives up to that legacy?
No.
Really?
There's not a lot of guts in this.
I drew a lot of parallels to the second segment in the critically acclaimed segment, which was
that's a lot of guts. Hold on, let me try it. I got to be a little more enthusiastic than that. That was flat. That's a lot of guts.
And that movie was
In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, which I drew a lot of parallels here, man. Like I felt like there were a lot of really like striking similarities between the two franchises, don't you think?
Similarities? No, not really. Not to like deflate your entire thing, but no.
I'm just dead inside.
I feel like Johnny in A Violent Nature is like cruel and very single-minded, whereas I feel like Marz is kind of whimsical and silly. He's like a mad scientist, but he's also a murder man. Yeah, maybe I'm just saying that because he has Einstein hair.
Maybe I'm, and that's a good point. Maybe I'm referring more to the way it's shot and how you like how the scenes are approached and how you view what's happening in the movie. It was just strange. Like because I haven't seen what's the movie called again? I'm sorry.
In a Violent Nature.
I have not seen In a Violent Nature. So from your description, I'm watching Madman, and I'm thinking like, and maybe this might be for every slasher I watch for until the end of time, because they are kind of poking fun at that genre. Where I'm like, how is this dude getting around? Like what the fuck? Like you're like, what's happening?
Okay, yeah. But here's the
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop you right there. So that's one of the things that I'm going to get into that I really think is kind of cool about this.
Yeah.
So, in A Violent Nature, like Johnny's moving with a punishing lack of urgency. Like he's just walking, taking his sweet time. He doesn't care. He's not stopping. He doesn't need to stop to get food or drink. He's an undead revenant on a single-minded quest for an amulet, or for like a locket rather, not an amulet. That makes it seem like he's some kind of sorcerer. But like Marz, he's in a hurry. Like I appreciate the scenes like when like the one kid's in the house in Marz's house and he hears Marz come in, do something in the basement, and then he looks out the window and he's like booking it to the woods.
Like
he's like, I got a deadline, dude.
Yeah, he bounding. Like when you do like the term bounding, like this dude is just like if
he's
you could imagine how a gorilla runs. Like that is how he moves from place to place. It is hilarious.
He's not a small man. He's a large man, but he's like, I'm on a schedule, dude. I gotta be places. So I do kind of appreciate that you see him running around. like he's always in a rush because he's like, I gotta get these kills done tonight. Like I got a schedule to keep. But yeah, so Madman, that's the movie we're doing for part 2 of the second annual summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON. One quick thing I wanted to note before we get into all the other things.
Sure.
So I think I remarked last time that the reason that we chose this is because of the symmetry with the burning, which was like based off of the Cropsey legend, the urban legend. But so you might notice that Madman Marz very much isn't that. And I was reading more about it, and apparently, so the director and then like the director and the writer, and the director was one of the co-writers. So the director is Joe Giannone. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know. Italian names can be hard. He heard about the production of The Burning after they had finished writing the script for Madman. So he's like, I will keep a lot of the same thematic elements, but I will change like the legend, like make it a different legend, just make my own up. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, it's barely a legend. Like you don't, like campfire legends are always so boilerplate and basic. Like, oh, what? Some guy who killed his family, and now if you say his name at night, he'll come for you. Like, yeah, it's easy. Like, it's easy to do a legend like that. So I kind of appreciate that they're just like, whatever. Like, Cropsey is basically barely a thing, so we'll just make our own version of it. So Madman Marz is just like that kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to bring that up at the get-go, because I kind of falsely reported that this was a Cropsey based story, and they did change it around. Like obviously it's not a Cropsey thing, it's Madman Marz.
Yeah, and I think that I think that was more effective at how bland, like I don't want to say bland, but
whoa.
No, but the legend was bland. It was just like, oh, he killed his family, and you just say his name and he shows up. I think
in a night just like this one. In fact, it was this very night. Many years ago. Like it's always something like that in campfire stories.
So like that vanilla nature of it, I think lended to this being more effective when it started like playing out. So yeah, it was pretty. I was pretty happy that this wasn't a Cropsy kind of thing, because again, like that to me is like played out. So yeah.
You hate Cropsy. You're like, I'm glad those kids burned that guy. I'm sorry. You can cut that out. That seems really mean. Okay, but no, so but the thing I like about this legend is it is lore of the campfire telling of his horror, right?
Yeah.
Lost in the woods with the Madman in the Stars, Shane. It's the song.
Don't laugh at the tale. Heed if you call him. The legend lives. Beware the Madman Marz.
Beware the Madman Marz. I super love that this one has its own theme song. It's like
in there.
the Killer Clowns one. It's like, I love that the Killer Clowns had their own song. I love
Killer
this
Clowns.
No, this is not as good as Killer Clowns, obviously. Like, few things on this earth are, Shane. Few things can come close to the genius of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But I do appreciate the effort. I'm glad they made the attempt. But on that note, shall I begin the cast and the crew?
You shall.
I shall. It's gonna be it's honestly gonna be like Slim Pickens in this thing, and not the actor Slim Pickens from Doctor Strangelove. I just mean
I'm literally leaving.
Why?
No, I want to see Slim Pickens.
Oh, you thought the Slim Pickens was in this movie despite having watched it and knowing he's not in it?
Twice.
I watched it thrice, so I got you beat. Well, four times technically, but the first time I fell asleep, so I don't count that one.
Me, Lord, we.
All right, so we're going to start with our director and co-writer, Joe Giannone. Honestly, not a lot. He was an assistant director on The Clonus Horror. He was the assistant director on one episode of American Playhouse, and he was a producer on something called The Wind. That's it. Very slim. I think the only other thing was like there's a special thanks because they did some kind of documentary in like the mid 2000s or maybe the early 2010s about this movie, because it's kind of a cult classic movie in some circles. So they did after his death, I think they did a documentary about it. So he had like a special acknowledgement in that. And honestly, a lot of these cast members, I'm not going to say it, but a lot of them, if they were alive when that documentary is made, they're also in that. So just something to keep in mind. All right. But the other co-writer, I think he got story credit specifically, is Gary Sales. This was his sole writing credit, but he'd have a production manager on Cheerleaders Beach Party, Reflection, The Girl on the Train. He had assistant director credit for Vampire's Kiss, Men of Respect, Nervous Ticks, Jersey Girl, but not that one. Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan. Just Cause, Fair Game, Harriet the Spy. Harriet the Spy, you may remember, is Nickelodeon's first ever movie production.
Yeah.
Grapevine, Three Blind Mice, From Justin to Kelly, the American Idol movie they made for some reason. The Girl on the Train again, and then A Lover Scorned. So that's all I really had for Gary Sales. He's not got a lot going on.
Some big ones, though.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. I think it's interesting how like there's a very journeyman quality for a lot of these people that are involved in this. Like they usually have like production roles or like producer roles or like other roles in other movies, like other small movies. So it's kind of interesting to see that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
For special effects, I picked two specifically to highlight. I picked Richard Alonso and William DePaulo. I might have, did I do William DePaulo whenever we did Chud? Because he has Chud on his credits and I recognize some of his stuff, but I couldn't find my notes from Chud, so I can't remember.
So maybe, but that was so early. We weren't really like getting into like naming. I feel like we didn't really name out the cast, the crew to that depth until after we did the Prowler. Like we started really diving into the special effects group.
All right, fair enough. Then I will.
I
go
think
through
it's fair.
Their stuff.
Yeah.
For a long, and again, there's more people on the team, and this was just special effects people. There's also like makeup people. There's a lot of people involved. So, but for Richard Alonso, we had My Demon Lover, The Blob, the 1980s remake of The Blob that I love, Black Roses, which is a fun little movie about like a demonic metal band. Species, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Relic, a classic 90s monster movie, a little film you might have heard of called Jurassic Park, Inspector Gadget, the one with what's his name? Matthew Broderick. The Sixth Sense, She Creature, Earth versus the Spider, Teenage Caveman, Wrong Turn, Constantine, Thor, Monsters. He had an episode of Monsters. That's what it was. Because, I love bringing up that show. Monsters, The Jitters, The Dark Half, Doom, the one with Carl Urban and Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Black Panther, Logan, The First Omen was his most recent credits. That just came out this year, The First Omen. So still active, still doing stuff. He had a lot of other credits too. I just pulled out some hits. For Dave DePaulo, he had Spasms, Terror Vision, but not that one. It was a TV show. He had one episode he did work on. Chud, so that's why I brought up Chud earlier. Bear in the Big Blue House, the Disney Channel television program about a large bear living in a home.
Yeah.
The Hebrew Hammer, Doubt, Date Night. I think it's the movie with Steve Carell and Tina Fey.
Yes.
The Tempest, The Beaver, The Dictator, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I just thought it was funny. There's a series of the movies and all over the place. The Tempest being Shakespeare, and then The Dictator being a Sacha Baron Cohen comedy. Putting comedy in quotes there. Not a fan.
You didn't like The Dictator?
It's fine. I'm not a fan of his shtick, like Sacha Baron Cohen's deal. Although I do think that when he's in other roles, he's good. I do like his role in Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, when he plays that Frenchman. And obviously I liked him in when he'd sung Master of the House in Les Miserables. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
So is that enough to get my Sacha Baron Cohen bona fides?
No, I'm just surprised that you're not into his satire, which kind of things that he is attacking seem like something you would not be a fan of too. So
no,
I get it.
It's not even okay. Well, I don't want to get
just
into
don't like
this.
his style of comedy, right?
I think that the way that he does things, the way that he kind of tricks people into it, makes it harder to have discourse on difficult subjects. Sure. Because the people who their problematic views are being brought to light feel like they've been bamboozled, So they kind of then have the justification of, well, if I had known that I was part of this. So that they kind of redirects the conversation away from what it is that they're doing and into the way that it was done, which I know that's not fair. That's not a fair criticism, but that's just how I feel about it, that it makes it harder to have the conversation.
Yeah, because his Straight Dave's Man Slam and Max Out is probably one of my favorite things he's done. That's probably the funniest thing I think I've seen.
I do know those are words that you just said.
Okay, so in Bruno, he does that thing where he plays Straight Dave or whatever, and they do a wrestling cage fighting thing, and then he gets in the ring, and it's his assistant/boyfriend, and they end up making out in front of the whole crowd, and the crowds are this is real. They're throwing chairs into the into the ring and stuff. It's crazy. He does a lot of other just messed up stuff. I love when he goes to that Arizona council meeting about selling the town a mosque.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna be the largest mosque in the Western Hemisphere or something.
Yeah, it's so funny. I know people give him a lot of shit, but some of the stuff he does is just so funny, and he is targeting certain audiences, right? So non-American listeners, I want you to know, we don't all feel that way. In fact, probably a majority of us don't feel that way. And he is purposely finding the worst of the worst. So he probably did that skit 10 times and used the one that's the worst out of the 10. So,
I do appreciate
I get it.
I appreciate the project there. What he's doing is calling out this Islamophobia that's present in these what is it, small town America, supposed to be allegedly the most friendly and best people, and they're over here freaking out that there might be Muslims in their town. So yeah, no, I understand the project. I just feel there's a conversation to be had, and it's gonna be harder to have now that they're gonna be on the defensive because they said some ironically horrifying things.
Yeah,
What the one
right.
guy says, it's like, well, no, I know you guys aren't racist. And the one guy's like, I am racist against Muslims. And like, oh no, this guy just said that in a public
Right.
forum. Like, but no, I do understand that the project though there's a lot of value to it. It's just, yeah, it makes things, I feel like it makes things more difficult, but we don't have time for that. That's not this podcast. That's not what we do here.
Sure.
We're going to move on to music. Stephen Horlick. Now, I am going to go on record right now saying I love the music in this thing.
He fucking nailed it.
And there's a reason for that. So he has a few credits. Obviously, one episode of the TV show Monsters. He has basically a ton of Shining Time Station content, which is some kind of children's thing. So like the TV show and movies. Do you know what it is? I didn't know what it was.
It's Thomas the Tank Engine.
Well, that's what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he did the music for like everything of that.
Yeah.
But you know the one I'm going to. 88 episodes of Reading Rainbow.
Hell yeah.
He apparently wrote the theme song for it. So it's like, no wonder the music in this movie is so good. This guy rules. But I just think it's funny that like the guy who did Shining Time Station and Reading Rainbow music is also the dude who did Madman. But I don't think he wrote the song Madman Marz, though. Do you know if he did? Did you look that up?
He did.
He did? Okay. For some reason, I thought that it was, what's his name? The writer. I thought it was Sales, Gary Sales, but
He's credited. It's called The Legend Lives / Beware, and he's technically credited as the composer. So
Gary Sales was the music director. That's why I got confused. That's my bad. Might be.
Stephen Horlick is like super famous. Like he's like, so Shining Time Station. A lot of people don't know that's Thomas the Tank Engine, but so like, did you watch that as a kid?
No, I did not.
Okay. So there's a lot of conductors, but two famous conductors. The first is Ringo Starr from the Beatles, and the second that I think is.
Sorry, I just like the idea that you like explain who Ringo Starr is in case.
Well,
like,
some people don't know, man. Like, you know,
All right,
especially
all right,
Kanye. Anyways, the second one is George Carlin.
That I did know. Yeah, that I knew.
Who was a staple of my childhood throughout most of it. So it went from
I like that you're about to explain who
trains.
George Carlin is.
Yeah, well, he died in 2008, so there's probably some people that are like, "Who's George Carlin?" Well, you should look him up.
I think when I was a kid, I actually didn't really care for trains, which is probably part of it.
Not a train boy.
Not a train boy. All right, cool. So, you know, Stephen Horlick, there you go. A guy who, why is he here? I don't know. I guess he needed to
God,
pay
he
rent.
was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. The music slaps. But now we're going to get into the cast, unless there was anyone in particular that you wanted to call out that I missed,
No.
like anyone in like the crew. Because I know there are other makeup people. I know that there were other special effects people, but I just, you know me, I just pick a couple and I roll with it.
Yeah, I didn't see anyone else that kind of like jumped off the page at me. So yeah, I think
Get out of the page and get into my car. All right. So next up is going to be our final girl, sort of. Our main character, kind of. Okay. Oh, the other thing I need to say is you might notice in the credits that none of these names are the names you see. That is because this was a non-union film, so no one could use their Screen Actors Guild names. So I think they're all credited differently. You didn't know that? Yeah. Problematic. We don't like that. We don't like union busting around these parts. But yeah, there you go. That's part of it. But yeah, our final girl of sorts is Betsy, as played by Galen Ross. Probably most famous, obviously, for Dawn of the Dead. She was.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead. She was also in Creep Show. I'm pretty sure that the Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen bit from that, she was in that one, if I'm not mistaken. Oh man, if I'm mistaken, I'm gonna have to eat crow. I'm gonna have to hang an albatross around my neck and then be like, this albatross is signify I didn't realize which Creep Show bit Galen Ross was in.
How dare you? Something to tide you over.
Yeah, isn't that the one where what is it? Ted Danson, it was like having an affair with like Leslie Nielsen's wife. So they like he buries him like in like up to his neck at the beach, like as the tide's coming in. Isn't that the one from the Creep Show?
Yes.
I feel like I need to
That's
just
it.
go and rewatch Creepshow. Like, what am I even doing here? But yeah, so that one, yeah, so I was right. Hey, look at me. I'm so smart and cool.
Tom Savini
All right.
was in that. So was Stephen King.
Yeah. Yeah. Stephen King was in the one where he's like playing a hillbilly dude who like finds like what is it? The meteorite that falls and it like starts to like grow like plants. It's like The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill, I think. He's like Geordie Verrill, the farmer.
Yeah, he is.
It's a very over the top performance, which is very funny. I really like that. And the crate rules. You know, what's it? Fluffy, the creature from the crate in that one. There's a mural in like the north side of that, like in Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yeah. So there you go. Fans of murals in Pittsburgh. You can find Fluffy. Or no, maybe it's in Lawrenceville. Maybe it's not north side, actually. All right. We'll have to check my math on where it is, but it's definitely there somewhere. I know because I follow Tom Savini on Instagram and he posted about it. Oh, yeah. But back to Galen Ross. So those were only 2 acting roles, Dawn of the Dead and Creepshow. She had some directing credits, actually. Time for Art, Not Just Las Vegas, Dealers Among Dealers, To Russia for Love, Mail Order Brides, Killing Kastner, Karis's Peace, She May, and Beijing Spring, and then Title Shot, which I think just came out last year. So she was still making stuff up until then.
Yeah.
So pretty cool to see. She had other stuff. I think she's like a casting director on Day of the Dead, the next one in the Of the Dead series with George Romero there. And she has some writing credits too. So she's like acting isn't her main thing. But I got to say, if it's like 3 movies, you know, Dawn of the Dead, Madman, and Creepshow aren't a bad 3. Next up is Betsy's somewhat lover man, TP, as played by Tony Nunziata. He had Deadly Hero was his only other acting credit, and then he played as himself in From the Ashes, 10 Artists. Don't know what that is. It didn't even have an image on IMDb. But the fun thing about him is he's also a musician, so he performed obviously the song at the beginning, and then I think at the end he's the one who sings the Madman Marz, you know, The Legend Lives or whatever the name of the song is. So there you go. Next is Stacy, as played by Harriet Bass. Again, like a couple of different types of credits. She's an actress in An Empty Bed. She was a casting director in Gravesend and Pushing Hands. Is it Gravesend or Gravesend? It's one word, so I can't really tell what it's supposed to be. And she was the assistant director on Taking Manhattan. So that's all I have for Stacy. Nothing to lose your head over, am I right? Next is going to be Dave, as played by Seth Jones. A lot of episodes of things, like one episode of Lime Street. He was in something called White Hot, 5 episodes of Swan's Crossing, Big Night. But I'm a Cheerleader, which is kind of a funny movie. He was in 2 episodes of Law & Order and 1 episode of Law & Order Criminal Intent, but he's playing 3 different characters. So it wasn't like he was playing a recurring character throughout the Law & Order expanded universe. He was just a random guy in a few episodes. Next up is probably the lady who gets put through the most of the ringer in this movie, in my opinion, which is poor Ellie. It's played by Jane Claire. Yeah. Ellie
we'll get there, but holy shit.
Man. She has a difficult evening. But yeah, so Ellie is played by Jane Claire. Give me a break. 2 episodes of that. 1 episode each of Julie, Third Rock from the Sun, Star Trek Voyager, and The King of Queens. That's like it for her. Her fiance or boyfriend or whatever it is, Bill, is played by Alex Murphy. He actually has a lot of credits for Polish television programs. So he had something called Guts. Let's see if I can say a Polish word here. Młode Wilki. I think this is just pronounced Success. It's Sukces. Aquarium, Killer with 1 L. Again, all these are like, I think, Polish words. Third World, Deadline, The Harrowing, Going Home, Entertain Me, and Fazant was his last thing. So not a ton of credits, but interesting that he has so many Polish ones.
I'm proud of you.
For what?
You did good.
Hey, thanks. Anyways, I'm going to keep moving on. We've got Richie, the kid who messes everything up. Plays played by Tom Kendala.
The final girl, Richie.
Well, I mean,
kind of.
It depends on how you define final girl, I guess, right? Yeah. Like, because he is the last, like basically the last survivor in many ways. So I'm trying to think of it. So final boy. The thing is, he's not involved in a lot of like the fighting.
Yeah.
So, or fighting, the murdering. Like he basically, well, but he does find the stuff. Anyway, okay, who cares? We got to go through his stuff. We don't have time. We don't have time to discuss whether or not he counts as a final boy. So yeah, Richie, Tom Kandala, Mr. 10% Mieten and Monetten, which I think that means Mr. 10% rent and money. Is that what Monetten is? I think it's rent and money. Yeah. It's definitely Mr. 10%. That's interesting. Night Shift, Midnight Matinee Psycho, and that's about it for him. So all of that build up for just 3 things. Now we'll move on to Max, a very old man who I think is like the owner of the camp and just basically leaves to play cards while everyone's getting murdered. So Max is played by Frederick Newman. He had an X-rated film called 1001 Nights. Not sure what that is. Dead End Kids, Spalding Gray, Tears of Pleasure, Walker, Me and Him, Day One, Astonished, Reversal of Fortune, The Prince of Tides, The Obit Writer, Comfortably Numb, I Love You Not, Make Pretend, and then most recent for him was Planet Earth, Dreams, which was before, I believe that he has passed away, unfortunately. So I think that was like his last credit before he had passed.
So did you say 1001 Nights? Say it again. So that was a adult film?
It was rated X. That doesn't necessarily mean it was adult, though. So the MPAA had like all these weird rules for why things would be X rated.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it was rated X, but I don't think it was because it was.
So this was an anime.
Really?
Yeah. So this
the one he was in?
Yeah. Well, so it was a Japanese film about Aladdin. So this is essentially like Aladdin. And
yeah, I'm familiar with the 1001 Nights, like the Arabic thing.
Yeah, but the character is like Aladdin, and he voiced one of the English versions, not the Japanese version. So I've never seen this. I actually know what this is. I've never seen it, but this is like an early telling of Aladdin. But I think it does have nudity.
I mean, you know how anime is. Like there could be something in there that's like they were like, nope. We're gonna rate this X. Just get it out of here.
Yeah, but
yeah, good work, good
late
research.
60s, yeah.
All right, next up is everyone's favorite character, Dippy.
Favorite.
As played by Michael Sullivan. He actually has a ton of credits, which I was surprised by. He had The Rogue, Greaser's Palace, It Happened in Hollywood, Kitty Can't Help It, Deadly Hero, 2 Tons of Turquoise to Taos Tonight, Gums, America, Hitler's Folly. His most recent was Village of Children in 2022. But that's acting credits. He also has visual effects work. He did visual effects work on Little Shop of Horrors, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and Mortal Kombat. Not the 90s one, the most recent one, the 2021 one.
Hell yeah. Love that movie.
Like, how is he still doing stuff? Like, and why visual effects? Like, it's so funny like how many things he's doing. And let's be real, like, we'll get into it with the plot description shortly, but Dippy is not a prominent character. Dippy is given a name, a character trait, and a death. That's about all he's got going on for him. Next one up is The Legend That Lives, the Madman Marz, as played by Paul Ehlers. Nowhere Mary, Static, Caesar and Otto Meet Dracula's Lawyer, Gruesome Herzog, Ink and Steel, Devil's Five, and Stash. The latter two, he played a character called Demon. So you get an idea, because he's a very large and imposing man. So, you know, he's going to be playing them murder fellas.
Oh, yeah.
So he actually reminds me of Jack Black a little bit because of how nimble he is, despite his size. He often scampers about.
They should do a reboot with Jack Black.
Yeah, Madman Marz reboot with Jack Black. Hollywood, get on it. We need this. Dear Hollywood. Let me grab my calligraphy set, my quill and my ink, and I will pen a letter. Dearest Hollywood, why do you hurt us so? Why don't you give us a remake of Madman featuring Jack Black as Madman Marz? Mm. Although Jack Black's kind of short, though, now that I think about it. I need him to be a taller guy.
I looked this up.
Okay.
Dude, that 1001 Nights or whatever is like a Japanese like sleazy porn adaptation. And it's like an anime. It's like a hentai, basically.
Are you sure you want to cut that out? Because if it seems like we're recommending it, people might try to watch it and then find that it's porn.
Yeah, guys.
So you might actually want to
heads up. Heads up, folks. Solid. Yeah, heads up.
Surprise! It's porn.
Yeah, really. The X rating earns its. I found it. I googled it, and the site's like sleazy and grindhouse films that are no longer available. It's like, oh fuck. So leave here. I'm on a list.
Yeah, now you're on a watch list.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I had for like the cast and crew. I know that there's like Richie's 2 friends and there's other campers. Honestly, the children don't factor into the movie really, so I just kind of didn't cover them.
Yeah.
Are you chill with that? Or do you want me to go through like their credits?
You're good.
All right. Well, if we're done with the cast and crew, Shane, what do we do now?
Oh no. What do we do now?
What do? Now it's time for
The plot description.
Now it's time for my story. My story deals with a man who used to live in that old dilapidated house behind those trees. We're not supposed to be this close to it because many strange things happen around here. He was a farmer with his family, wife and 2 children. He was an evil man. Ugly and mean. He'd beat his wife, brutally punish his children. He'd drink at the tavern and fight all the time. He once had a piece of his nose bitten off in a brawl and didn't feel a thing. It was a night like tonight, many, many years ago. Wait a minute. Now that I think about it, it was the same night as tonight. The woods, quiet and dark. The farmer, for no apparent reason, went stark, raving mad.
I don't know why I always do like.
I don't know.
It's
I
like,
love it,
yeah, it's gonna be like Skrillex or something. All right, so shall we begin the plot description? All right, Madman. Love this opening.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, I think that it was actually designed by Paul Ehlers, the actor who played Marz.
Really?
Mm-hmm. If the one thing I read is to be believed, he designed that backdrop, and they were going to use it for the poster, but the production company went a different way with it. But yeah, so we got an opening of like it's like a red background, but then like black like shadows of trees, and what like the title Madman like pops up with like a musical sting, like a like really loud like synth sting. It's awesome. And then we get like the song that plays the womp 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 womp. So yeah, and I put in my notes, I think that it sounds like it might have been composed on a Casio keyboard, but I didn't mean that in a negative way. Like what I put in the notes, a Casio keyboard someone picked up at Radio Shack.
Hey, don't hate on Casio.
I'm not hating on Casio.
I've
nor am
owned
I
a
hating on
Casio
Radio
keyboard
Shack.
from the 80s, and it sounds just like this.
Yeah, my current keyboard I think is a Korg. But yeah, no, I've had a
I'm a
I think
Korg
actually
boy.
Yeah, I think my smaller keyboard in the living room might be a Casio though.
Do you know what my notes say for this part?
No, because you don't share me your notes. You only make me share mine.
Sick intro. Oh, I don't make you share your notes, by the way. Sick
Yes,
intro.
it is a sick intro. I love
put
this.
awesome graphics.
It is awesome. This is a good opening. Now let's see if it's going to write a check the rest of the movie cannot cash. Oh man, suddenly the credits turn into an intro paragraph. It all started during a campfire at North Sea Cottages, a special retreat for gifted children. You might ask yourself, does this gifted children thing come up ever again? No! I don't know why they brought it up. Maybe just to like make sense of the fact that there's like such disparate ages between the kids. Like some of them are very little and some of them are just like teenagers.
Yeah, it's like, how gifted were these kids? Like,
well, Richie doesn't seem all that gifted.
right.
He
You know what I mean? Like,
makes a stupid decision.
The other thing, it's like it all started. It's like, well, no, technically, it would have all started with Madman Marz murdering his family, but anyways,
yeah, that's true. That is where it all started. We have a bunch of people of various ages, like some very, very old counselors, and then some, little kids, some older, like upper level teenager kids sitting around a campfire. TP, we'll later learn it's TP, is singing a song. It's about Madman Marz. It's done to the tune of the legend, Legend Lives, but it's like a different version of it. It's just more of a longer form version. He's singing about how Madman Marz, there's some things you get from it, like how he takes the bodies of those he kills and stuff like that. And it's kind of a cool scene because as he's walking around, we get brief cuts to scenes of the characters and their eventual demises, or like the time right before their demises.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, that was an interesting idea. So showing us what they're going to face later. Or I guess in the case of Richie, it shows a scene of him when he finally finds what's in Marz's basement. It cuts to that version because that kind of breaks his little mind, if you recall.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, and I put in my notes, could it be some kind of sorcery or foreshadowing? We may never know because we don't know if there's anything supernatural about this guy. Quick note, as he's going around doing his song, we notice that most of the people are pretty old, like the counselors even, are middle-aged and stuff like that. And then some of the kids are older teenagers, almost like adults. The counselors are the characters that will be focused on throughout the movie. So the singer is TP, the head counselor guy, possibly owner of the camp, is Max. He's very aggressively middle-aged. We got Betsy, we got Ellie, we got Stacy, we got Dave, we got Bill, and then we got Richie, who is not a counselor, but is the main camper that we'll be following throughout the film. So jot that down, Shane. These are our characters. To summarize the song, though, Madman Marz comes out of the woods, kills people, he drags their bodies away to his lair, so they'll never be found, and then he might come back and kill you later. Next up is Max, I guess queued it up for Max to tell the actual story about the farmer Marz. Without the song interpretation version, he explains that Marz was a farmer who lived in the dilapidated house right over there, and he points, and it's literally right next to them. So maybe don't do this. Don't have a children's campfire next to the home of a family annihilator. He was apparently very abusive. He abused his wife. He abused his children. He was a mad, mean drunk. He would go to the bars and get in fights. He apparently had his nose cut off at one point, or sliced by somebody in a fight. It was bit off, yeah. And he didn't even notice because he's impervious to pain, apparently. Basically just a disfigured murder man. He's out there. And Max does the typical campfire things, it was a night like tonight. No, it was this exact night. It's it always is in campfire things, isn't it? So, and another thing that's kind of funny is this is supposed to be a summer camp, right? So but everyone's all bundled up. The reason for that is because sort of I think Sleepaway Camp, they filmed it later in the year than they expected to. So in Sleepaway Camp, I think I talked about how they had to paint some of the leaves green to make it look like they weren't about to die. They had to do the same thing for this. And it's why so much of the movie the entire movie is night. So is part of that because they couldn't film it during the green season. That's why everyone's all bundled up there. Even in late summer, man, if it's you're sitting by a fire, I'm not gonna be wearing a full parka. So there you go. The magic of the movies. So what was it? So anyway, on that night, this particular night, Marz went crazy bananas and used an axe to chop up his wife. He enjoyed it so much, according to Max, that he did the same to his children. Then he went to a local bar, put the bloody axe on the counter, and ordered a beer. That's thirsty work, chopping up your family. So of course he went out for a beer afterwards. Word gets around the town. Hour. Yeah. You can't be, what do you think? Just because he murdered his entire family is going to miss out on a good deal on a pint? No way, man. But so word got around town. So a group of 10 men came to attempt to lynch Marz. They strung him up, the rope cut into his neck. But after they hung him, I guess the men who were lynching him just left. But when they got back the next morning, Marz was gone, and the bodies of his family were conspicuously missing from the home. which, as we know from the movie later, like they're just in the basement. Like, how much did they search this house? But no time for love, Dr. Jones. We're going to move on. Richie, our resident skeptic, he's incredulous about this entire story. He asks Max how their bodies can just be gone. Max says no one knows, but the farmer can still be heard stalking the woods at night, looking to chop up someone else or hang them. He also likes to hang them. Apparently, when he was hung, he got a taste for it. And then when Richie is like, "What? We don't even know the guy's name." And then Max is like, "Aha! I haven't told you the name because if you say the name above a whisper, he will hear it and he will come for you. And if he comes for you, he'll get you."
So, like, this implies that he tells this story all the time and that all the other campers are chicken shit and won't do it, except for this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Was he was definitely a camper, right? Because they allude to him like the other kids, like, oh,
the other two campers, the only other two boy campers are like covering for him, if you remember. Right. So yeah, he's definitely a camper.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is it? Despite this, the fact that the name apparently has power, Max says that the farmer was named Madman Marz, and he says it like a couple of times, right? His name was Madman Marz. His name, it was Mars. Madman Marz. I'm like, okay, we get it. It's Madman Marz. Richie, being that sort of punk kid, stands up and shouts and taunts Madman Marz. And then he also throws a rock through the window of the house. Yeah. Which is just bad bombings. Don't do that. Like, I'm not a superstitious type, but I'm not just going to go throw a rock through the window of a dilapidated house. You never know. You never know when you're going to disturb something from beyond.
Well, it's also like, I've thrown rocks and baseballs and stuff.
You would, you punk.
And they're like, oh, it's just beyond those trees. And he like turns and throws a rock and it goes through the window. Okay, how fucking close are they to this house? Like, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. They're literally like in the yard, it looks like. Right. Like they're like the yard is like at the end of the tree line.
Yeah.
They're literally there.
This guy's fire pit.
I mean, yeah. It seems like it. I don't know why they would be that close to it. Unless it's just for this. It's just so Max can tell this story. And TP's like, yo, I wrote this entire song. We're going to Mars's house and singing this song. So it's kind of a miracle they haven't all been murdered before, if I'm being honest. But yeah. So Max tries to assuage Marz by shouting, Richie is young and he didn't know any better. We didn't mean to offend you. And then, if the apology didn't work, Max says that the last thing they will see is Marz's mutilated face staring down at them as he chops them up with an axe. That scares some of the smaller children. They're very upset. Galen Ross's character, Betsy, is very nonplussed by this entire event. So at this point, the group splits up. The boys are going to stay and take care of the fire, and the girls are going to go back to camp with everyone else. Max says that no one can walk alone because Madman Marz is now out there, and everyone applauds because of the story, not because, hey, yeah, we love it when people die. So they clap about the whole story, the artistry of it all. Yeah, Betsy comforts a young girl who's concerned about Madman Marz. She explains it's just Max's overactive imagination. TP approaches Betsy and apparently decides that like at this campfire with children is the best time to try to like set up another hookup. So he's like, what? I was like, can I come by later tonight again? Same time? And then, so like they've been having intercourse, I'm sure. Yeah. Betsy is not having it. She's annoyed at TP for his participation in this terrifying children event. TP's annoyed because there's only a few days left to camp. And Betsy's like, we have our whole lives. And he's like, when you get back to the city, you won't want anything to do with me. And they start to argue. And Stacy comes and breaks it up like, hey, don't argue about whether or not you're going to bone in front of kids. Like, yeah, no kidding, dude. Like, what, you think just because it's the woods, there's no rules? Stacy gives, after that, Betsy goes off to like round up the girls. Stacy gives TP some advice saying that the biggest test isn't holding on, but letting go, giving Betsy the room to make up her own mind. TP is one of those alpha males who's annoyed, but instead of like taking it out on Stacy, he takes it on the boys in his charge and orders them to like put out the fire. Meanwhile, Max is leading Betsy, Stacy, and like all the girl campers back to camp. And presumably Dave and Bill are there somewhere. I don't know. I didn't really see where they went from there.
Yeah, like what were they like? What is their job?
I don't know, because it seems like TP's the only one taking care of the boy campers. I don't know what Bill and Dave are even doing.
I felt like it's like, okay, you have 8 campers, like 8. And like, why do you have like 7 counselors? Like,
they honestly have almost as many counselors as they have like kids. It's ridiculous.
I wrote down like, how gifted were these kids? Like, it was just like a one-on-one situation. I don't know.
No, it was very funny though. Like, it was like, well, why do they have so many counselors for like these kids? It makes no sense. Well, I guess because Max isn't really helping. Because as soon as they get back to the camp, we'll get there. He just like leaves to go to town to play cards.
Did you think Max was the killer at any point for just a tiny bit? Like the first time you saw this?
I mean, anytime I see a middle-aged man with a mustache hanging out with kids, I always get a little sus. I guess.
That's kind of what I felt like. I was like, this guy's a little weird. And he knew a little too much about Madman Marz.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't really get into it in the opening like I should have, so I'll do it now. So, like, the other movie we did for the summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON sound effect, the other one we did was you know, a whodunit. We didn't know who the murder was. There was red herrings and all that.
Whodunit?
I actually don't know what you're going for. So, but the
idea
heard that
is song?
No. Is it a real song?
Shit. Yeah. Here, hold on. I'll cut it out so we don't get sued.
Sure.
You don't know that song?
No, I don't know every song.
Stefan, I've been making that joke for like fucking at least 10 weeks and you've never said a word about that joke.
No, I didn't. I have never heard that song. I'm not much of a music person though, as you know, and like I have my specific areas of music that I really like. So like fan of the show The Witch of the Woods and her cousin
The Wood Witch.
Yeah, they play like these games that we play like through a group text we have, and one of them is Bandle, which is like where you guess songs and stuff like that based off of like one part at a time. And I'm so bad, and it'll be like easy mode. This one has, 1 billion listens on YouTube or something. I'm like, I've never heard this song in my entire damn life. Like, I just don't listen to popular music, so
I think I'd kill it.
You'd probably do well, yeah.
Probably play with them sometime.
So you just do. I'll send you the link, and you can just click on it and do it.
Not to out the witch, but she's interested in partaking in some of the show at some point. So stay peeled for that one.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out if the witch is going to assist us or not. Let's get back to the show then, shall we?
Off the rails, pal.
Wow. What are we, a bobsled team? Yeah. So, we were talking about how there's like just way too many counselors here. TP has the boys line up, wanting them to double time march and head to camp. I'm like, what kind of camp is this? You have them marching. However, Richie is distracted when he looks up in a tree and sees the silhouette of a large man in the tree watching them. It is Madman Marz, number 1. And number 2, man, this is again more evidence how nimble he is. He got up that tree and was watching everybody. So Richie stays behind as the rest of the other 2 boys and JP or TP. JP is Jurassic Park. TP is toilet paper, which this guy deserves because he's shit. Having apparently never seen a horror movie before, Richard decides to go into Madman Marz's house. He walks in, and we watch a clawed hand as it lights a candle, presumably somewhere within the residence. We'll later learn it's in the basement. Richie, not mindful of the sound of loud creaking with every step he takes, he heads upstairs in the house rather than to the basement where he would discover both Marz and the fruits of his vicious slaughter. Once Richie gets to the attic, so Richie doesn't see that the figure that we saw in the basement throws the cellar door open with abandon. He has 2 ways to get to the basement. One is stairs in the kitchen, and the other way is like an outside cellar door. So are you familiar with how cellars work, Shane?
Yeah, like a storm cellar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So you can go downstairs in the inside of the building if you have them installed, or you can go to the outside. You see, a cellar is a place where you keep your preserved vegetables. So
cellar,
they stay cool.
Hardly newer.
Hey-o. Back at the camp, though, TP and the remaining 2 boys arrive, and TP releases the 2 boys sight unseen. so he doesn't notice Richie was not there. He's too busy looking forward at the other cabin that is Betsy's cabin. He sees that Stacy is going to Betsy's door to talk to her, so he's not going to try to do a moonlight rendezvous, as they call it. That's a fancy way of saying sex, Shane. You see? Whoa.
That's a lot of butts.
Yeah. Oh, and in this movie we do get some butts.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically TP's butt, which I'm not psyched about it. Betsy and Stacy are just having girl talk. They're talking about the merits and red flags of our man TP. So what, he's possessive and smothering, but also sometimes sweet and tender. So Betsy isn't sure what she wants to do. Betsy thanks Stacy for being there for her, for being a shoulder to cry on throughout the summer, yada, yada. Stacy remarks that she doesn't have many female friends. So Betsy suggests that they exchange phone numbers so they can stay in touch when they go back to the city. So cool. This is a friendship. I certainly hope that murdering doesn't happen to ruin it. Yeah. So outside, TP is asking Max about some challenge to get $100 to pull an axe out of that's embedded in a tree trunk. TP is unable to free the axe, and he asks Max to give him a hand, which Max does, despite the fact that he has to pay $100 if they succeed. But the two of them are unable to remove this axe because neither of them are the true king of England chosen by the Lady of the Lake.
Well, hold on.
Oh, okay.
Is that really the qualifier we're going to put for the King of England? Because a little later...
I mean, Madman Marz looks like an inbred monster, so he's probably good for British royalty.
He's a Habsburg.
The Habsburg. What are the current ones? The current
Tudor
family's
Stuart.
Windsor. Oh, what is it?
Weren't they Tudor Stuart?
Oh, I thought it was Windsor. I don't know anything.
Maybe they are. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, wait. Which ones are the Plantagenets or whatever? Is that from Shakespeare? Is that even real?
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't watch The Crown. I tried to watch. What was the show with who's that like sexy young guy who's in a bunch of stuff? He plays like Henry VIII in some show.
Yeah, they're Tudors.
Is that called The Tudors, that show?
No, maybe. I can't look up three things at once. I'm sorry.
It is. I think it is Tudors. I think it's The Tudors, the TV show. Yes, it is. Yeah, with what's his nuts? Who's that hot young man? He has like a 3-name name, right, or something like that. It's not Chad Michael Murray. That's a dude from like the OC or something, right? Jonathan Rhys Meyers. That's his name. Jonathan Rhys Meyers. Yeah. He was in that movie with John Travolta from Paris with Love. It's a good movie. I like that movie. Although it also is vaguely racist, but like in a fun way. In a way that, I guess not a fun way, but like in an acceptable in a post 9/11 world way.
Fuck, dude. These people are they're like, I'm like, are they, so they are Tudor Stuarts, which I thought.
All right, good work, dude.
But they're both Tudors and Stuarts on both sides.
Well, let me tell you, I just made the joke about them being inbred trash. So okay. But the reason I want to explain to you why I don't want to watch The Tudors, because it's basically about how all these lords just do what they want to people. And it made me so mad that I'm like, my blood pressure can't handle this. Like, I was upset, like actually vibrating with rage watching The Tudors. It's like, man, if I was alive like back then, I would have started a peasant uprising so damn fast. Like, I'd be like, as soon as like a lord like interrupted my walk, I'd be like, they have taken too much from us. Although I guess England didn't have a lot of peasant uprisings, did they?
Not really.
They went ape shit for that in like Central Europe though, right? Like Germany had a ton of peasants uprisings.
Yeah, it's not really fair though, because like that was the Holy Roman Empire, so like I felt like there were multiple states constantly, so like I felt that centralized they were okay, but like as a united front they were weak.
Shane is over here making excuses for the Holy Roman Empire because he wants to become a Carolingian.
It's a solid reference, dude. That's so funny.
I hope Seymour listens to this one. He will love that.
Oh my god, dude, that was such a good fucking reference. Oh my god. Hey, what year was the railroad invented? Because we were fucking not close to that date.
What?
Off the rails, bro.
Oh, fair enough. right, let's get back to where
Carolyn,
where
June, that's good.
All right, so yeah, back to the axe situation. That's where we left off with TP like asking Max to help him try to pull out the sword from the stone, or the axe from the log, as it were. Max does try to help TP out. They can't do it. TP is like really upset about it. It's like a dude who like loses at darts or something and just like can't keep his rage in check. Max does his best like Zen interpretation. He's like, hey, losing or winning doesn't make a difference as long as you play with a fair heart. If you try too hard to win, you might not like who you become. And TP's like, if you win, you become a winner. And then stomps off like a loser would. So that kind of gives us an idea of the character of TP. I certainly hope he gets hung later. Let's find out, shall we? Stacy hits a note on a recorder. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to mention that TP asked Dippy to help them, the camp cook. But Dippy is too busy drinking a bottle of Jack to help out. But then Stacy hits a note on the recorder next to Dippy, frightening him as he was having a doze on the porch. She tells him his bottle's empty. Dippy's like, well, I have to ameliorate that situation. So he like gets up and heads to a like pantry or shed or something. I don't know what it is. It's a door with a lock on it. So he takes the door off, opens it, turns on the light, and surprise, Marz attacks. Marz instantly slits his throat with his clawed hand, then grabs Dippy and drags him away. I love this kill. It was so funny how he turns on the light and then Marz is just standing there. It's like that meme, the surprise meme from like Dexter. He's right there.
Right.
And it was great. I love it. Oh, by the way, Marz attacks is my what I'm going to say every time Marz attacks.
Okay.
Rot. Remember that? Do you remember that movie?
Marz attacks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said the ack joke.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Great movie. James
So
Brown,
in the
so good.
Yeah, Danny DeVito's in it.
Yeah.
I think Natalie Portman is in it. She's the president's daughter, right?
They put a lady's head on a chihuahua body. Like, funny.
Sarah Jessica Parker's head, yeah.
Yeah.
And they do something weird with Pierce Brosnan's head, too. And also Jack Black is in it.
He is, yeah.
See, it all comes together, full circle. Just like the symbol the Martians do with their hand when they do the circle thing. Do you remember?
I do.
So a little inside baseball on Marz attacks before I move on and talk about the movie we're actually here to talk about. So I loved Marz attacks. And back when I was young, my aunt owned this store and she had like movie rentals there and stuff. So whenever she got Marz attacks, I would like rent it constantly. And I don't know, like, I'm surprised my mom didn't just buy me the movie eventually. I just kept like renting it from my aunt's store over and over again so no one else could take it. I loved Marz attacks. There you go. That's a little bit about me. All right. Meanwhile, in the boys' cabin, the two remaining boys, I think they're Jimmy and Tommy, pretty basic kid names, decide to make up Richie's bed like he's asleep in order to buy him time to get back. The one boy says Richie knows what he's doing, so we'll cover him. But then we cut instantly to Richie. No idea what he's doing. Richie is in what appears to be the attic of Marz's house, which is crazy. You can't, if you think you're in the house of a murderer, why would you go to the attic? No one stores bodies in an attic. The smell, Shane. You didn't think about the smell. So, Richie is like looking through some stuff in the attic. What is it? He's like looking through books and papers. But then he hears a door slam. He attempts to investigate, but luckily this time he has the wherewithal to understand that he is making creaking sounds on the floorboards, and he takes steps to mitigate it by walking more slowly. The clawed hand of Marz lights another candle elsewhere, allowing us to see that he's got skeleton heads and also a local rat. I don't know why I paused that long for the rat, but there is a rat.
I don't know either. I just was like, hey.
There's a local rat down there next to a skeleton head.
There's a joke coming.
As Richie said, if only I planned a joke for that rat. So as Richie sneaks downstairs, Marz drags Dippy's corpse into another room in the basement, presumably hanging him based on, we see him like lift him up. And then the wall, like blood is like dripping down the wall. So it's like, oh man, he's hanging these corpses on the wall. Someone get this man to Hot Topic so he can just buy a poster. Marz then heads to another wall and grabs a rope, or specifically a noose. It's tied in a noose. Isn't it weird that a rope becomes a noose based on the kind of knot on it?
I mean,
think more about that.
yeah.
So as Richie approaches, he looks outside and he sees Marz scamper off into the woods in a kind of funny scene. I just love how Marz is always booking it. It's like, man, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's just at the weird, like it's like he like remembers, oh shit, I gotta do something, and just fucking sprints.
Yeah, he takes the time to like light candles in his basement for like, I don't know, the ambiance. But he's like, oh man, but I have only this night to kill all these people. I'm on a timetable.
He's
So he
like,
like
oh my
runs
god,
off.
all this ambiance, I have no bodies.
Yeah, I have all of these candles and no corpses to show off. What if the people I'm having show the house for the open house come? Oh, by the way, so did you see like the part where I put meanwhile at the Hall of Justice in my notes and I put strike through and said meanwhile at the camp?
Yeah,
That was pretty funny, right?
it was.
No way to make that joke work in podcast form, but it was funny that I put it there. So yeah.
We should. So hold on. So
Okay.
fans of the show, folks, friends, perusers alike, we post this all to YouTube. So Google Podcast has ceased to exist, and we have gotten approved by YouTube to post which was a lot more complicated than it should be, to post our podcast to YouTube. So it's just a still image of our logo or whatever thumbnail we use and the episode, right? So that would be funny to put your notes and like as we go through the show, like switch scenes, like move to the next page.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Fair. Yeah. Fair.
You want people to see these notes? No, we can talk about it offline.
But that's just interesting. You just brought that up. It's funny.
Well, I put bits in my notes for me. Well, I guess now for you too. But yeah, so all the counselors are meeting in the mess hall. Max is giving some kind of farewell speech, emphasizing, I don't know, the impact they've made on the young lives of the campers, yada, yada, yada. Betsy has to be a wet blanket, though, and she says, I think that Max's campfire stories are too scary for the younger campers. I was like, lady, it wasn't even that scary. But Max, must be a pretty good manager. Maybe he's taken a class or two. He's very receptive and says that he'll look towards excluding the youngest campers moving forward from the campfire at the end of the camping session. Yeah, Max then says he's going into town to get some shutters from a place called Sonny's. And then he's also going to play some cards. So he will be gone for a while. And he says, I know that you guys have beer hidden that you're not supposed to have. Save me one. So that shows he's a man of the people too, right? What a manager. So he says he'll be back in a couple hours. And then he leaves TP in charge. It's like TP's already lost a kid. He doesn't even know it yet. What a terrible person to leave in charge. Maybe it's just because of all those hours of practicing their like song and story routine for the campfire.
It's all the marching.
Oh, sure. Double time even. So yeah, TP, clinks a bowl and then he issues an apology to the group for the scene he and Betsy had caused at the campfire. And he apologizes to Betsy too. So everyone's pretty receptive and seemed very pleased with his apology. Betsy included, but you know why he did it, for intercourse. So he proposes a toast,
sure.
And everyone, all the counselors join in on the toast. So they have a toast. But yeah, so his apology worked really well. And then we cut to a montage of TP and Betsy getting undressed to some very corny 70s music. And what is the song is, it's actually him singing the song, the actor who plays TP.
It is, which is worse. And I'll tell you, the weird hot tub circles while they're in the hot tub, fucking weird.
I put that in my notes.
Yeah, I know. And I was trying not to step on your toes here, but like the fucking terrible, like why do they turn so much? But also, why is this like a Grease moment within a fucking slasher film? This felt
it is terrible
too. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so the song I think is called "Don't Need Words to Know."
Yeah, it's
so
like
it like tells you how corny this. It's a very 70s music thing, which I get it. This movie was filmed in 1980. It came out in 1981. Fine, we just barely left the 70s in the dust. But man, what a situation! But yeah, so like after they get undressed to this like corny music, and it takes so long. I did put in my notes, we've got man ass, because after Betsy gets in the hot tub, TP gets in, and we just get a full ass shot of him getting in. It's like, that was necessary.
Slowly.
Yeah, that was necessary. Yeah, and then I do what you just said. They're swimming in circles around each other, like looking at each other. It's like, what are they, like megalodons circling up on a pod of whales? Like, but wait, no, they go in and they start making out. Yay, they did it. But then no time for love, Shane, because we've got ominous tones and killer POV as Marz goes to the window and watches them through this like little porthole looking window. We hear the basic intercourse sounds, moaning, smooching. Marz is getting in the window, looking on him. They're too busy getting busy to realize that Marz is there, but we do get a cool angle from their point of view, which is Marz just standing there. He's like, yeah, look at me, got crazy hair, I'm Marz. He is kind of obscured, though. We don't get a full long shot of Marz until like the end of the movie. So most of these shots of him are like brief or kind of like somewhat obscured. So I should probably mention that. But Marz decides to go elsewhere because, you know, he may be a madman, but he's not a cockblock. Did you like when I put that in the notes?
Yeah, it was good. It was like, Marz is like, you know what? I'm going to come back to this.
Yeah. All right, I'll be back. You guys finish up. So yeah, the audience will not be seated as we go back to Richie meandering through the dark woods, seemingly lost based on him saying, "Where am I?" to himself. Smash cut to Stacy sitting in a canoe on shore playing her recorder. Okay, whatever. So she's going to climb up this very steep grade, which seems like a weird place to have a canoe. Is at this like very steep grade? Like surely there's got to be another way to get to shore. The music gets very tense, so we can assume that Marz is on the attack. However, she doesn't realize it, and she gets up the grade just as Marz's clawed hand reaches for her. So, whoo! Man, the audience was not seated during that. So elsewhere, at a different fire inside this time, because it's like a fireplace, we have Stacy, Bill, Ellie, and Dave all lying on the ground, like head to head from like, you know, one's body's this way, one body's this way. They're laying and they're like commenting about, I don't know, like the beauty of destruction or something. I don't know. And then someone's like, no, there's no beauty in destruction. Destruction's always bad. Like, this is such a weird series of character development because I don't feel like I'm getting to know these characters at all. I just think that they're, you know, kind of douchey. So
Right.
Hopefully they all die. Guess what, Shane? They will. As if to prove a point, Dave stands up and grabs a knife, claiming that no one here knows if he's thinking rationally or if his version of normal is really normal. And Ellie asks him if he's okay, but he says he's letting his emotions overcome his intellect. And he says that he could take their bodies one at a time and hide them so no one will ever find them. But what is it? It's like, I could chop off your heads, and then jumps into the group, and then everyone laughs. So they know that he's not a red herring of a killer. He's just doing a bit, even though he had an actual knife. So Dave seems like a normal dude.
I was like, what the fuck?
That's acting, baby. Oh, white knuckle thrills continue as we cut to Richie, still lost in the woods. All right, back to TP. He's finally gone to the cabin that he's supposed to have been watching this whole time. Presumably him and Betsy have finished their strange hot tub relations. He realizes Richie is gone, and the boys, you know, they don't rat Richie out. They don't. They just tell TP. TP tells them to stay in the cabin, and then heads out. Betsy tells him to take Bill and Dave with him if he's going to go on a search for Richie, but he says that it's his responsibility since he's the one who lost him. Kind of a dumb move, considering that he's in the woods at night alone looking for a kid. But who am I to tell him how to camp counsel, right? He's the most senior one, after all.
So, okay, we'll get there. I have problems with this guy for a bunch of reasons.
Do you?
But one that's coming up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a lot of problems with it. Yeah. So Betsy, though, as TP's getting ready to leave, notices Marz in the shadows scampering off with a brief musical sting to let us know that it's spooky. She calls out to TP, but then she doesn't see Marz anymore and decides not to warn him that Marz is out there and just tells him to be careful as a generic thing. She basically signed his death warrant because the next scene is sinister tones as we get a POV shot of Marz walking behind TP. Elsewhere, we cut to Bill and Ellie They have a relationship, I guess, and Bill is apparently going to leave school to be with Ellie, which, that'll be a really good thing for their future together. She suggests that they go for a swim because the night is beautiful. And Bill says he has a better idea, and he starts to kiss her. I think his idea, Shane, is intercourse.
It's a good idea.
TP is out in the forest. He arrives at the site of the campfire. Richie is apparently, lost a few minutes to walk away from camp because that's all the time it seemed to take TP to get there. As TP is yelling for Richie, he scans the bushes with his flashlight, and he scans right over Marz standing in the bushes. But then when he doubles back, Marz is gone.
I love that that's like a running bit.
How Marz is just always standing there.
Yeah.
And then the people like get a glimpse of him and he's like, just kidding, I'm going to duck away. That's why he's so nimble. TP, for some reason, thinks that monster man he saw with a disfigured face and crazy white hair must be Richie, even though he looks nothing like Richie.
Wait, Richie?
Richie, is that you? Looking like some kind of freak of nature. Hearing some rustling in the forest, we get some tension with accompanying tense tones as TP moves through the brush. However, he sniffs the air and says it smells like death. But as he says that, a noose gets around his neck, and he's like dragged up a tree where he's now being hung by Marz. Marz, it's actually like kind of a long scene, which I think is pretty effective because he's really struggling. TP's strung up, he's kicking and trying to grab at the rope. He does manage to grab the tree trunk or the tree branch that he's like strung above and manages to pull himself up to stop the choking. But Marz is like, oh, no. This is your doom. So Marz walks over and like grabs TP by the legs and just like gives him a good old tug, snaps his neck. It's game over, man. So Marz walks away barefoot with clawed feet and takes a second to regard his handiwork with a sense of pride. He gives a grunt of satisfaction and goes out into the woods to continue myrtling.
Well, it was that he left, and then they're like, "Oh, hold on, we need to get some more feet in this." And he turns around to look at the camera. They don't show his body or his face or anything. This is a foot shot.
He just turns around to look at the direction of the man he killed, and he goes like, "Oh," and then like leaves because he doesn't speak. One thing the audience needs to know is like Marz never talks. He does grunt and grumble a lot and kind of roar a little bit, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it doesn't really fit with his lore, but we don't have time to wonder about that. Smash cut to Betsy in the office doing He Loves Me Not with like a piece of paper. She is concerned that TP hasn't returned and looks at the clock to see that time has indeed passed. Although she does take a second when she's doing the He Loves Me Not. It's like, of course he loves me. It's like, wow, Betsy. But yeah, so she goes to Stacy and Dave saying that TP was supposed to be gone 10 minutes, but he's been gone 45 minutes. She tells them about the shape that she saw as TP was leaving, like that she thought she saw something in the shadows. Dave, being a man, scoffs at her womanly ideas and says that he will go looking for TP and she doesn't have to make up stories to convince him. It's like, okay, Dave. Betsy's like, yo, don't make fun of me. I'm serious. And Dave grabs a coat and heads out. So there you go. Dave. Now we kind of want Dave to die because like, hey man, Betsy's your senior. She's in the office. Now that she's alone with Stacy, Betsy reiterates that she definitely saw something, or I think I did, I think is how she phrases it. Outside, Dave is walking and walks past the stuck axe, and we see the clawed hand of Marz. He grabs the axe. And he frees it very easily, Shane.
Yeah, super easy.
So now we know what we know for sure.
Someone owes him $100.
Well, number one, Max owes him $100.
Yeah.
Number two is he's the one true king because now he pulled the axe from the stump. He didn't even need a Lady of the Lake to help him. He did it all on his own.
Nimue has failed.
That's why he had to kill his kid because his son was Mordred and he was going to try to kill him. So
it's funny.
Arthurian legend. Our audience will not be seated as I reference Arthurian legend. Oh yeah. So anyways, now armed with an axe, we see the barefoot clawed feet of Marz. walking with the axe at his side. It's a pretty epic shot. Deeper in the forest, Dave has arrived at the site of the campfire, which I cannot stress enough how close it is to the camp. This camp is basically right next door to the murderer Marz's house. Kind of surprising it hasn't been a problem before. Dave's yelling for Richie. He's yelling for TP, getting no response. He turns down his lantern, and when he does, in the distance, he sees a light. So he lights his lantern back up and goes, and we see an axe rising behind him. However, he walks away before he gets Marz attacked. Dave finds the flashlight. It's TP's flashlight, but no sign of TP, or Richie for that matter. Further in the woods, he hears some creaking. Is it the wind? Is it a murder man? We get tense tones as Dave too contemplates this. Oh no, Dave is standing next to TP's hanging corpse, which I kind of like this shot. He doesn't see the legs of his friend like beside him until he walks directly into them.
So like they do a lot of this and then there's stings, right? Constantly. But there's
not the wrestler
or the singer. So there's
or the spider.
Or the spider. Oh god. So there's a bunch of times where they just play a sting and I'm like, wait, what? Like, what was this? So I would rewind and rewatch. I'm like, there's like, no, was it just like weird, like Mars foot would be in the shot? Like I was trying to
sometimes he's in the background, like his hand or something.
Yeah.
But other times it's just like there's a noise and there's like, it's like, oh, something happened. It's very funny. I like that. Dave, like when he runs into TP's feet, TP's body falls like onto him. Dave is sufficiently freaked out, which understandable. He runs and hides behind a narrow tree. I'm like, buddy, that tree's not going to hide you. He takes out his knife from earlier when he joke threatened his friends. However, he has no lantern because he dropped it when the corpse fell on him. Then we get like a random bop, bop, wow. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. So like, I think I'm with you. I don't know what some of these tones are supposed to be. Yeah, Dave looks around. But as Dave turns to look, Marz's axe comes down next to him. He barely evaded it. Dave uses some FromSoft dodge roll mechanics to evade Marz's axe for a while. But he does eventually run out of stamina, Shane. So he finds himself on his back, unable to move. Marz is upon him. Marz, steps on like a fallen tree and jumps and like swings his axe in the air like Matthew McConaughey in the movie Reign of Fire. So axe swings, Dave screams. We cut to Betsy and Stacy, who decide to wait in the office. So we don't actually see Dave die. I really thought you were going to chime in on those FromSoft dodge roll things that I was talking about.
They're good, but you were like on a good solid roll, and it was just like...
Unlike Dave, I didn't run out of stamina.
Oh my god. And like the sound effect for the axe like missing or hitting and him dodging was kind of funny. But like, so this is the scene that made me think like, okay, so there are two versions of this movie, apparently. One is rated R and one is PG-13. One has gore, one does not. So Stefan's like, hey, did you watch the right version? I'm like, I don't know. I think I did. So.
You are misrepresenting so hard what I did. So, okay.
Okay. Help me out here.
Yes. The Freevee version. So the version on Shudder is rated R. The version on Plex, I think, is TVMA. The version on Freevee on Amazon is 13 plus. So I was like, is that the same one then? Because it has it doesn't have TVMA or R, it has 13 plus, which is basically PG-13, right? No, that's the version that I watched this last time. It is the same movie. There's no difference.
Oh, okay. So there isn't. Okay.
So, yes. Yeah. I don't know why they said that's 13 plus. There is nudity in this movie. There is murder in this movie. I don't know why they have it 13 plus and not 17 plus, but there you go.
That's fair.
Thanks for nothing, Freevee. So yeah, but no, they cut away from this murder. We only get the aftermath later. Stay peeled for the aftermath. Smash cut to the boys' cabin. Jimmy and Tommy are the boys, as I said. One asks the other one what's going on, and then the other one is like, nothing, I don't think. That's it. That's the scene. Cut to the office. Like, I don't understand why that scene had to be there.
I don't either.
Like, well, those kids, like, they weren't union because this is a non-union movie. So, like, why we had to cut to a scene of these kids? So yeah, back to the office. Steve Carell's there. No, I'm just kidding. Stacy grabs some keys and says she's going to find Bill and Ellie, and then go look at the end of the trail to try to find where the other people who've gone out searching have vanished. Betsy says they should all stick together, but Stacy says that's the difference between you and me. It's like, I don't play it safe. And then she goes off. And it's like, well, then you're going to die. And guess what, Shane? She will. Onward to a tent where Bill and Ellie are making out in a sleeping bag, possibly in a state of undress. We hear footsteps approaching. Oh no! Is it the Madman Marz? No, it's just Stacy doing a, hey, what do you lovebirds up to fake out jump scare. She informs Bill and Ellie that there's a missing child, Richie, and now 2 missing counselors, so stuff's getting serious. Bill and Ellie say that they will be along, but they opt to make out again once Stacy recedes. You know, they can't just stop. Not when a child's in danger. Yeah, we see Stacy trying to work her wind-up flashlight, not seeing or hearing that Marz is stalking her in the shadows in the foreground. And I really liked this scene because she is to us in the background, but that's where the lighting is, right? In the foreground are like cabins and trees, and Marz is in the foreground closer to us, but we can only see his silhouette because the lighting is where she is. I really like that shot of him just like walking parallel to her as she's walking in the light. I thought it was really good use of lighting. Stacy gets to the truck, but it's a slasher film, so of course the engine won't turn over. She gets out with she goes to get out, but her flashlight isn't working, so she looks in her glove box for the other flashlight. It's like, imagine a world where cell phone flashlights don't exist. She does locate the other flashlight though and heads out and pops the hood of the truck and does some work with a screwdriver. I don't know cars, Shane. I don't know what she was doing. I hope it's not on the test. She goes back to the cab and then attempts to start the engine again, and it does turn over this time.
Well, it was like too easy.
What was that?
Whatever she did was like too easy.
Yeah, she just took a screwdriver and like poked it like the, I don't know, engine block with it a couple times, and it suddenly starts. I don't know. Again, I don't know cars. It could have been anything. Could have been Lightning McQueen for all I know. So she goes, starts the car. There is something approaching from a first-person perspective. It uses a clawed hand to try to open the passenger door, but Stacy pulls away. She gets out of there. She doesn't know how close she was to Mars attacks.
I know.
She'll
learn later.
She'll learn. Well,
Yeah.
barely, yeah, not really though. Her
True.
death is so sudden. We'll get there. Back at the office, Ellie is concerned and wishes that Max was there since he would know what to do. Bill says we're all experienced counselors. We know what to do. It's like, yeah, you're all in your like 30s and 40s. You should know what to do. But then he's like, oh, but TP should not have gone off alone. I was like, yeah, no kidding, dude. Ellie and Bill decide that they're going to go out and look, leaving Betsy alone. But Betsy's like, I have 5 kids to look after. I'm hardly alone. And then Betsy looks at the clock again so we can see that time has indeed passed. And then Ellie and Bill depart. So there you go. Time has passed. Ellie and Bill are going to depart too.
Nice.
So our group is doing a great job of making small groups for Marz to pick off. Stacy in the forest is calling out for TP and Dave. And then also Richie last. I'm like, hey, that's the kid that you're responsible for. She walks on behind her, a clawed hand wraps around the tree. I kind of like how you see like the clawed hands or feet of Marz just showing up in the background. He's like, hey guys, don't worry, I'm still here. I ran all the way here. And it's like, yeah, man, she drove in a truck.
In case you forgot why you're watching this movie.
Yeah. In case you forgot that the legend lives, the Madman Marz.
Just got my nails did. Like, just...
Unbothered and thriving.
New nails, who dis?
Yeah. But I do like that, how he's just always in the background doing something. It's like, hey guys, don't forget about Marz. I'm your man. So what is it? Oh, I put it in my notes. Did you read this part of my notes? I was like, this suggests that Marz is goddamn Barry Allen, because my dude hoofed it to where she was and she drove with a truck to it. So my man ran that fast. That's what I mean. I love how Marz is always running from place to place. Like, he's got to be tired by the end of this movie. In the woods, Stacy sees the glow of a light, much like Dave did earlier. And I put in my notes, it's kind of funny because her flashlight seems that it can never stay lit. But then this one is like the Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going and going. And it's like, oh, never mind. It's a lantern. It's not a flashlight. So whoops. Stacy continues to call out for TP, Richie, and Dave. Finally, she sees Dave's feet. He's like, what? His feet are like over a fallen tree. Like, do you ever go camping in the woods where you have to like poop in the woods?
Yeah.
And you like hang over like a fallen tree and like, this is the best I can do in the forest.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It looks like he was trying to do that, but then he fell backwards.
Right.
So his feet are up and she's like, what are you doing, you crazy fella?
Dave, you log pooping bastard.
Dave, you couldn't resist the desire to poop in the woods.
The allure of pooping off a dead log.
So she goes and approaches and she picks him up and like, oh no, his head is gone.
Oh no, he pooped so hard his head is missing.
It's Mortal Kombat logic right there.
Yeah, right.
She screams, gets a look at his his head nearby. So it's over there being all dead. She scampers away. Of course, it's a slasher movie. So what? She like falls like 3 times, running back to her truck. And guess what, Shane?
What?
The truck won't start again.
Son of a bitch.
What are the odds? Did you ever watch? Oh man, what was the movie? Scare Package.
Yes.
Oh, you have seen it?
I know about it. I haven't seen all of it.
Okay, so there's it's like an anthology film sort of. But there's like this whole bit where if there's a killer, like a murderer guy, and he has all of the rules of like slasher movies, and one of the rules is if he's within like X distance of if he's within like X distance of a car, it won't start. So it's like one of the rules is like if the slasher killer is too close, then the car will not start. And at one point they finally stop the slasher and he's on the ground, but they go to the car that won't start because they're too close to him. So they like put it in neutral and push it away so they can start the car.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that when I was watching. It's like, oh, the car won't start. I guess Marz must be too close. So yeah. So yeah, she goes back out to try to get the engine to be fixed with her screwdriver. She's what did I put? Like she's trying to get the engine to turn over from within the cab at the safety of the cab, growing more frantic and sobbing. She's having what we in the business call a rough time. So she grabs her screwdriver and goes out with her flashlight to go to repair the truck. She regards her surroundings with suspicion. I kind of like how she's like looking around a lot behind her because the killer is coming from behind the truck, from in front of her. So yeah, she lifts the hood and she's working. She doesn't see Marz pop up behind the truck, which I'm going to say one thing. Marz climbs onto the truck here. Have you ever stood on a truck and had it not rock like it's going to explode?
Yeah, this was kind of a weird.
And Marz is a chunky lad. Like he's not going to like stand on that thing and have it not move.
No, I agree.
Yeah, but anyways, so Marz is like now on the cab of the truck. He's just standing there, heavy breathing. And right as Stacy is done with her work, she goes to stand up from beneath the hood. Marz jumps onto the hood, smashing down on her throat. Decapitation. She's dead. Oh yeah, so now Ellie and Bill finally show up.
Yeah, so the pacing in this movie is pretty weird. Like I never felt like, because it's only like 90 minutes, maybe something around there. But like a lot of these old 80s movies suffer from like they like languish too long in weird areas. Like exposition takes way too long, or like the hunting of like the killer killing people takes too long. I actually thought that they did a good job at keeping this pace pretty I mean, it was quick towards the end, but like, a lot of these movies, once they ramp up, they just keep going. But like, I felt like they did a good job at like throughout the entire thing, keeping like a steady pace of like killing off characters.
No, I definitely agree. Like, I think that the pacing is good. Like, Marz gets summoned basically instantly. So a lot of the movie, like we get character development interspersed with like just other
murder,
like kills. Yeah, like kills.
It's good.
It's unexpected. Like it reminds me of like I kind of talked about In a Violent Nature for the intermission episode, how like all of that like character development, it's usually front loaded, is kind of eschewed because we're focusing on the killer. This one, the killer is summoned and basically starts killing as we're still getting character development. I kind of like that, how it mixes it up a little bit. All right. Ellie and Bill make it to the trail area. They find the path to the campfire. And they do find Stacy's truck. And what is it? They're like, there's Stacy's truck and there's the campfire. We've made it. They decide to split up there because movie logic is the dumbest logic. They share a tender kiss, and that's how you know they're going to die, because this is not a place for love. This is a place for murder. Bill is in detective mode. He's got his deer stalker hat and his magnifying glass. He finds the remnants of the noose that was used to kill TP. Ellie, on the other hand, sees that Marz is in front of Stacy's truck, just looking at her headless corpse, like, yo, check it out. She's got no head. Of course, seeing a murderer standing over the dead body of a friend, rather than, I don't know, being subtle, Ellie just starts screaming. Which, alerts. Ellie screams so much in this movie, dude. Like, I hope that actress is compensated for the amount of screaming she had to do. Marz is alerted to her presence and does his trademark skitter away. Yeah, Ellie's running through the forest yelling for Bill. She does run into Bill instead of Marz, so lucky her. She's sobbing and trying to explain what she saw. But Bill, being a man in a horror movie, refuses to believe her and goes to investigate. Ellie, despite being hysterical, asks why they can't just like leave and go back to the office. And somehow in this exchange, even though she's suggesting the more reasonable course of action, Bill wins out and they go back to the truck. Get to the truck, the body is gone, as well as Marz, which gives Bill a chance to say, I don't see anything, Ellie, even though there's like a ton of blood on the front grill of the truck.
Yeah.
What do you think she did? Hit
all
a
over
turkey? Yeah. So, but Ellie seems to have calmed down instantly. It's like, yeah, you're right. It's like, man, is Bill teach a class in gaslighting? Because he gaslit her out of the thing she saw. They get back into the
mustache.
It's gotta be. Oh yeah, his mustache. What a stash. Am I right?
I know.
Like, man, he had like some like a Freddie Mercury style mustache. Like, it's very stark against his like pale flesh. I guess I shouldn't have phrased it that way.
Probably not.
But I did. So, they get into the truck and try to start it, but it doesn't start. And we hear the sound of like blood glooping, which is kind of funny. Like, hey, they're about to find out. Bill gets out to see what the issue is with the engine. When he he doesn't see the blood on the grill because he's incapable of observing anything. But when he does open up the hood, he does see Stacy's head, and he's like, "Oh, Ellie, you stay in the truck." But then Ellie's like, "Oh, if you tell me to stay in the truck, I definitely need to see what you just seen." And she gets out. Boom! Decapitated head sting, musical sting, another patented Ellie scream. So they get back into the truck, which actually starts this time, probably for plot reasons. Ellie's back in like hysterical crying mode. Bill puts the truck in gear, starts driving, but they don't get far before Marz attacks. He reaches in through the window and grabs Bill and just pulls him out of a moving truck, which is kind of awesome. Yeah, the truck hits a tree, which causes Ellie to tumble out of the door somehow. So, hey, lady, yeah, maybe you should wear some seat belts next time. So yeah, Ellie doesn't have a lot of time to react, but she does look up and see Marz is like holding Bill in the air above his head. And I put in my notes, he's like Bane about to break the bat. He's like, he's got Batman over his head. It does give Ellie a chance for another of her patented screams. And Bill is like yelling for her. He's like, Ellie! I'm like, what do you want her to do, dude? Like, this monster man has got you in the air and is about to rip you apart. What is Ellie going to do? So, but Ellie, luckily, smartly, I should say, just gets up and runs away. I mean, Marz has Bane strength, dude. Do you think the darkness is your ally? Because it's not. It's Marz's ally. It's why he hides it.
So, like, the problem I feel like with this like scene and like setup, maybe it's just because like I felt like out of all of the cast, they're like, hey, you know what? We're gonna pick on Ellie, and
it seems like they hate her.
I know, right? And like even her dialogue is like annoying, and you're like kind of not rooting against her, but you know, I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, I felt like just like it's literally boyfriend mustache dies, like things happen to her, dies. We'll get to the point where she gets back to the camp. I don't know. I just thought this was all kind of funny, like in hindsight, you know. So
yeah, I did think that, like, especially the scene that we're about to get to, like. She gets put through the ringer in this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah. Ellie, what? Oh, so this is also a funny scene. So, Marz is back on his business. He's dragging Bill's body back to the house because that's where he takes all the bodies. They're close to Richie, who is creeping through the woods, following the noise. Richie follows Marz as Marz takes the body into the house this time, to the stairway into the cellar, instead of going through the cellar door on the outside, which makes no sense, but whatever. Movie logic, we don't have time. Which, by the way, fun fact, that house didn't have a interior way to get to the cellar.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a closet. The cellar door that was in the house. Yeah. The only way to access that cellar was actually through the exterior door.
Wow.
But yeah,
Okay.
so Marz takes the body down there. What is it like? I don't know why it changes MO for this. Maybe just so that Richie could go through the interior door. We hear some bones cracking, which implies that Marz is doing something with them bodies. And then he finishes up and immediately exits through the cellar door so he doesn't interrupt Richie coming into his house. And he does his patented Marz scamper away. I put in my notes, I sort of like how Marz is always running places. It's like, I'm on a schedule. Richie goes into the house once Marz departs. This time, he sees the doorway in the kitchen that leads to the cellar. So he goes down there. Why not? You see some chains, which implies that... Oh, no. I forgot I put this in my notes. Did you see this joke I put?
Yeah.
I said, I see some chains, which implies that Marz may be bad, but he's perfectly good at it.
Yeah. Solid Katy Perry reference.
Rihanna, first of all.
Or Rihanna, my bad. I was thinking
Jeez.
S&M. Oh my god.
Wait, what?
Not S&M. This is S&M.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
I'm
song.
thinking Dark Horse.
Oh, no. I don't know that one.
Getting canceled.
I mean, Rihanna fans should be mad at you for that. I just like that I put that in the notes as like a bit for just for you. I wasn't going to read it on air, but here we are.
Here we are.
So yeah, Richie comes downstairs, or he's already downstairs. He follows the light to the far end where the candles are lit, and then it takes him a minute to get there. But he like gets there and he's like staring at something we don't see. We see his reaction to it, and he has a look of horror in his face. So we pretty much get the idea that it's probably corpses. But yeah, so we get a brief scene of Betsy checking on a little girl in the cabins. I think it's only there so we see a frantic Ellie who like now runs into the office looking for Betsy, who isn't there. I don't know how big this camp is supposed to be, but since they only have 5 campers, I feel like Betsy should hear Ellie running around screaming. But yeah, Ellie's having a day. She falls down. Takes a while to get up again. So I feel like you could keep her down. She's traumatized, but she better get more motivated because like Marz is on the run, baby. He's booking it. The sobbing Ellie makes her way to what I assume is the mess hall, based on the surroundings. There's tables in the kitchen. She hears something and goes towards it, thinking it might be Betsy. She doesn't find Betsy, so she quietly creeps around. Finally, she starts backing up into a doorway. Guess what's in that doorway? We see a silhouette of him. It's Marz.
It's Madman Marz. The like them fitting his head into certain objects like windows or like broken doors and stuff, it just kills me.
Well, this scene I like in particular because, like you said, none of the kill scenes have been this long. Like, Ellie is being stalked and, like, I don't know, it's like brutalized psychologically.
Yeah, this one was wild.
So she backs into Marz, turns around, sees him, screams, because that's what she does, slams the door, which doesn't stop Marz. He starts axing it instantly. So she, like, runs through another door, shuts it, and bolts it. I'm like, oh man, Ellie's almost smart here. But Marz is built like a football player. He just smashes that door off the hinges.
Sure does.
But Ellie is actually pretty smart here. She goes to the fridge, opens it, throws some stuff out of it, and then, like, hides in this, like, old-timey fridge. So pretty smart.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say, pretty good idea.
Yeah, so she hears the sound of, like, Marz going, like, crazy, like, wrecking stuff. He's just being a menace. But the problem is that she hides in the fridge for a little while she listens to him causing his havoc with his, like, hallmark grumbling sounds. But she does not stay in there nearly long enough, Shane.
No, not at all.
She stays in there for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But then when she stops hearing sound, she opens the door. It's like, oh. She sees all the destruction wrought by Marz. I put in my notes, what a ruckus. She walks across the room. She's, like, limping. She's hurt. She's had a day. It's, like, kind of tense as she's, like, limping through the room. Because, like, you know that Marz is still around. But she finally goes back the way she came in. And it's like, oh, will she survive? Nope. We see Marz is in the shadows watching her. And it takes her a little bit of time before she, like, sees the door and starts running towards it. And Marz attacks. He jumps out. It's like, surprise, I was here all along. And hits her in the chest with the axe. I really love how Marz has a sense of drama. Like, he waits until she feels like she's going to get out. And he's like, nah, I was always here. Ellie stumbles back, presumably deceased. We'll find out if she is. Smash cut to Betsy, who's now our de facto final girl, despite having not encountered Marz and not even being fully aware that her fellow counselors are dead. So she goes to a window, and it's the window to the mess hall. She sees the bloody body of Ellie on the ground. There's a musical sting that lets her know that this is serious business. Betsy, runs back to the office and frantically dials on a rotary phone with all the speed that it'll allow. I thought she was going to call the police, but instead she calls Max at Sonny's to tell him that he needs to get back because there's blood all over the place and people are murdered. And Max is like, oh, I'll be right there. But did you notice that, like, when it cuts to him in that scene, he's holding cards? He's like, do you think he finished that hand before he left? I think he finished that hand before he left.
He finished that game before he left.
Yeah, it's like, there's no way that all of the people I know are dead now. So Betsy, gets all the kids to the bus. She's like, we're going. Like, something's up. We see a shadow as Marz is on the approach. But not much of a sense of direction until Betsy, puts the bus in gear, and Marz puts a clawed hand on the back door of the bus. So Betsy goes to drive forward, and when she goes around one of the turns, we see Marz dipping in the headlights, like, hey, what's up? I'm here. And then run away. This is what I love about Marz, how he just shows up. It's like, hey, don't forget your antagonist. But this causes the bus to stall somehow because horror movie rules, I guess, and it won't start. So Marz takes the opportunity to try to make his way into the bus door, like the regular door that you use the handle to open, He's trying to get in there. Betsy manages to hit his hand with a stick enough times to discourage him from this attempt. It is peaceful for a moment, but then Betsy looks over and sees that Marz has Ellie's corpse, and he's just heading off with it. He's just going to carry her corpse away. Oh, wait, I missed something. We got to go back.
What'd you miss?
Okay, so remember when she went back to the office and called Max?
Yeah.
So Betsy gets a double barrel shotgun.
Oh, the
off
shotgun.
The wall.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Super important.
And I put in my notes, she's going to go Doomslayer on Marz, which is ironic because Doom takes place on Mars. Get it?
Hey, she's going to go Doomslayer in anything that moves.
Yes. So, yes. So we get a long, so we're backing it back up before the bus. Forget about the bus. We get a long shot of Betsy walking forward, shotgun in hand, heading to where Ellie was felled. But, of course, we know Marz isn't there because he had a brief appearance outside the boys' cabin earlier. So Ellie, basically what happens is Betsy walks to the window and Ellie, barely alive, jumps to the window, and Betsy, exercising the trigger discipline of an American cop, blasts without thinking and just double barrel shotguns her friend. Boom. Ellie's dead now.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it was huge. And she even called out to her, like right away. She turned and fucking fired both barrels.
And after that, she's like, "Oh, Ellie, no." It's like, you did that, lady. You fired your gun. It's like,
She
man.
grabs the kid's like, we need to leave.
Yeah, we gotta go. I just killed somebody. It's super funny though, because Ellie, like, man, if only you were a cop, or not Ellie, Betsy, if only you were a cop, you'd have a nice paid leave coming up.
Oh, jeez.
And then we get the rest of the stuff, the bus stuff. Yeah. So, and then this is when, after the Marz is heading off with Ellie's corpse, Betsy's like, I gotta go help end this. So she decides that she'll have one of the boys, either Jimmy or Tommy, drive the bus directly to the police station, which again makes me question how old these boys are, because he's able to drive a bus. So then one of the girls asks Betsy not to leave, but she apologizes because she knows she has to do this because the plot demands it. So Betsy heads out with her shotgun. She arrives at Marz's house basically immediately, like next scene. Walking towards the house, flashlight in one hand, shotgun in the other. She regards the house and readies the shotgun. But I put in my notes, not really though, because she's holding a shotgun with one hand. And I do not believe for 1 second that Galen Ross is going to be able to one hand fire a shotgun, a double barrel shotgun. Like, I'm sorry, there's just no way. She'd break her hand. So yeah, she creeps into the house. The musical sting tells us that Marz is creeping around behind her. And also we see him and his exaggerated movements in the background. I love how he just kind of like,
the hair.
"Ooh, hey, remember, I'm still here, guys." As much as I like musical stings, I feel like they could have done without it because his movements are so exaggerated. But yeah, so mirroring Richie's rookie move from earlier, Betsy starts going up the stairs, but then she thinks better of it and goes back down. So she's creeping through the house. Something falls and Betsy immediately fires.
Yeah, turns, fires.
Yeah, like not even looking, sight unseen, just fires that gun. Again, trigger discipline. What is she, a cop who has a acorn land on his car? So she just starts blasting. Marz, though, realizing she's going to take some time to load that gun because she has it's like a break action one, right? She has to crack that bad boy open, get some shells from her pocket. In that time, Marz has taken the opportunity to emerge, axe at the ready, because axes don't need reloading, Shane. So Betsy sees him. This is our first full body shot of Marz. It's pretty gruesome. He's a pretty gross looking dude. I can see why his wife wanted him to kill her because he's ugly. Betsy is back. What, I mean, get canceled by fans of disfigured hillbilly alcoholic murderers?
Yeah.
I don't think that's an audience I needed, Shane. So, Betsy's backing away trying to reload, but Marz uses the axe to disarm her. He swats the gun out of her hands. He then raises a clawed hand and slashes her face. Betsy's screaming as she gets dragged to the basement. And I'm like, hey, I thought she was our final girl, but in the basement, she's immediately impaled on a hook on the wall. It's like, oh man, Marz, you're not playing games. He just puts her up there. But he didn't pat her down because she pulls out a knife, which it's not Chekhov's knife, because despite the fact that it looks like Dave's knife from earlier, we never got a scene of her getting Dave's knife. So I don't know how it would be Dave's knife. But she uses the knife to stab Marz in the shoulder. And you might think to yourself, hey, that's not a fatal wound. Correct. But it did cause Marz to react in a way that he knocked over a candle into a pile of hay he had next to the candle for some reason. Lights it on fire. The room's ablaze. That illuminates the room, though, so we finally see what Richie saw earlier, which is just like what all of these corpses hanging on the walls. Some of them are people we've seen earlier. Some of them are much older, grosser corpses. Marz grumbles and growls. Wild. It was, yeah, there's a lot of corpses there. Marz grumbles and growls, presumably disappointed that now he has to leave his collection behind, but he like rabbits. Out on the road, Max sees traumatized Richie just standing in the middle of the road. Max gets out to check on him, but all Richie can say is, Madman Marz, he's real. But then as he says he's real, we get like a voiceover of him saying it, and we get like a image of Richie as he sees all the corpses in the basement that he saw. So in case you didn't know he saw them, now you see that he saw them. And we get a reprise of the Madman Marz song. And I kind of like how it ends with like the end of the song is like the legend lives, the Madman Marz. And it's just Marz walking with an axe towards the camera. It's like the end of Tombstone or something. Like,
right.
Yeah, so then the tunes continue as we get our black trees and red backdrop from earlier, and the credits roll. But we do get one final sting at the end of the credits as Madman shows up again. And then we get a brief RIP to the deceased members of the crew, which included the director, who had died by the time this transfer, I guess, came out. So there you go, Madman Marz. What do you think, Shane?
I think that the ending credits were way too good for this movie.
I did like the ending of him walking towards the camera while his theme song plays. It's like, is this the Avengers? Like, what's happening? Well, that's not true because the Avengers doesn't have a satisfying theme, in my opinion.
True.
About to get canceled by Marvel movies. Well, Shane?
What a wild ride.
I know, I'm excited to hear your thoughts, but before we get into those,
sure. What's got to happen?
We got to do a little thing we in the biz like to call the McMurder of the movie.
This is going to be tough for me.
Wayne's World, party time, excellent.
Because I have two. And one of them, I think, is actually what it is. With the other one, I'm like, just out of principle, I got to pick this one. So I'm curious to see what you think. And then I'll offer my suggestion.
Oh, you want me to go first so that you don't have to show your cards?
Yeah, like Max.
All right. So we usually have a thing where the McMurder of the movie has to be the murderer killing somebody. But I'm going to make a case for Ellie's death, because first of all, it's horrifying how she's stalked for so long. Then she gets axed to the chest, but she's not dead. She gets super shotgunned by her friend, and that's how she finally dies. Okay. So I want to make a case for that. I understand that technically Marz didn't kill her. Marz did attack, but he didn't finish her off. But I just love that how she gets shotgunned by Betsy at the end.
So
now, where were you going with it?
Okay. That was my choice also, was Ellie getting fucking blasted by her friend. I think that we have to give an honorable mention, though, to Stacy.
That was my other one, was Stacy getting decapitated by him jumping on the hood of the car. That was so good.
So those are my two. So I just like, the head cut by the car hood is so cool. But you can't beat that Ellie survives like 2 or 3 encounters with this fucking mass murderer. And then she gets put down by her friend. She like basically goes like, help me. And then her friend just blows her brains out. Like,
I know, that's like, we usually don't do it that way. We usually don't like, we usually do. It's got to be like the killer, the antagonist doing the killing. But it's like this time though, like everything Ellie went through and then finally just gets blasted by Galen Ross. Like what a moment. So let's do it. Let's do this. We'll break with precedent this time. And we will say that it is Ellie's death. Ellie's series of unfortunate events and death. Like all of it.
Okay.
All right, there you go. That's our McMurder of the movie. But now It is time for the judgment categories.
He's real. Lore of the campfire, telling of his horror, lost in the woods with the madman and the stars. Don't laugh at the tales, heed if you call him the legend lives. Beware the Madman Marz. The legend lives. Beware the Madman Marz.
As people know, the judgment categories are story, which includes writing, acting, effects, music, which includes sound design, and then finally cult factor. Cult factor being that little X factor that makes these movies so special. So let's start out with the story and the writing there. It's fine. It is what it is. Like, it's nothing special. Like, it isn't like it's not a barnstormer. Sure. It's not a Leo Tolstoy, you know? But I do kind of like how it just kind of like leans in on this like very plain concept and just kind of like commits to it. Like, not everything has to be like a deconstruction or something weird. Like, sometimes you can just be the thing you are, you know? So I'm inclined to give it a B. But I told you earlier that I basically have Stockholm syndrome with these movies. The longer I watch them, the more I love them, no matter what they are. So
okay. So I've tried to keep my opinions like low, like so you didn't understand like where I was with this. So are you ready?
Some might say I'm the readiest I've ever been.
Okay. I love this movie. Dude.
What? I thought you hated it.
No way. I love this movie. The first time I saw Richie look out the window and then Madman Marz is just fucking like sideways, like hop skipping away from the house, like joyfully. I'm like,
he's just like scampering off and
this is such a banger. Murder. Yeah, I absolutely love this.
Why'd you make me think you hated it? I thought you hated this movie this entire time.
No. It's funny. So like the first time I watched it, I was kind of like, okay, this is what it is. And then I watched it again. I'm like, this movie's pretty fucking good. So, I mean, I agree with you on B. The problem with this movie is they had such a good idea, but they never could realize what they were doing. And I don't know how to even fix that or whose fault it was, but like the premise was so good, but the execution on some of these scenes were so bad. I don't know, just decisions they made. They're like, you know what, we're going to show this motherfucker's hand. Which, again, lends to the cult classic of this whole movie. But I think it has to be said that this was very poor execution on a lot of fronts. So,
well, that's kind of part of it is like, I don't want to say like, because we have like some movies we've seen with like awesome twists or like crazy stuff. Like, just because this doesn't have a twist, just because it commits to like what it's doing, doesn't make it bad, but I could still say like it makes it basic. Like, that's why I'd say B. B for basic. B for Bill. So like, it's basically like, okay, it has a premise. It sticks to the premise. It doesn't do anything crazy. And it's kind of frustrating in some ways because it's sticking to that concept of like, hey, let's go out one at a time and look for these missing people. Like, what a goofy, dumb idea. But like, hey, you know, whatever. That's what the movie demands. Like, let's do that. So, yeah, I think we're good with B.
Cool.
B for Madman Marz. Next up is acting.
Okay.
Do you want me to go first? Or do you
no. I'm going to go C here.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. But let's be honest. Like to me, some of the scenes were so bad. Like how they talk to each other, especially... like the campfire scene where TP, who has a belt with his own fucking name on it, which is so stupid. I'm so glad they hung him. Where TP and Betsy are talking to each other. And it just felt so forced, and it's like, come on. You know what I mean? Like I felt really, I don't know.
I liked
It annoyed me.
Galen Ross's performance, but yeah, I don't think that there's enough like, I don't know, there's not enough to redeem it in that way. And some of it isn't even the fault of the people who are playing in the movie. So like, for instance, one thing to think about is, so the actress who played Ellie was not supposed to play Ellie.
Okay.
The actual actress dropped out, and what is her name? Janie something, right? Like Janie. Oh, Jane Claire. Yeah. So Jane Claire wasn't supposed to play the character. She was a casting person, but when the actress dropped out, she like did it, which is kind of impressive. Granted, a lot of her like screams and like her like scared face looks like she's not sure how to be scared, which kind of sucks. But also, like, you know, she did her best with what she had. So yeah, I'm comfortable giving it a C. But I just wanted to call that out, that like some of these people, like, it's first or only acting roles in some cases. Like, none of these people went on to have like huge acting careers. It's a very, like I said, journeyman enterprise they have going on.
That's
so
fair.
C for acting. Next up is effects.
This one's tough because like what they had was good, but I felt like there wasn't enough. Did you get that too? Like, did you feel that way or no?
Yeah, some of the kills, like the death of Dippy, like cutting his throat, was good. Like, that was a good kill.
He like opens it and turns the light on. He's right there. Boom, dead.
Yeah, and then throat rip,
Yeah.
and he's like, he spitting up blood and like dying. And then you had like, you had some kills that were like really, really good. And then some reactions to kills were fine. Like, I didn't mind Stacy finding Dave's decapitated corpse, right? Like, that's fine.
Right.
Like, it looked good. Like, the head looked good and stuff like that. But yeah, so much of it was so lazy or just like cut off too soon that it didn't really, like, we never even really saw the death of Bill. Like, I know he's about to get baned. Like, he's lifted up over his head. He's probably going to rip him apart or break his back or whatever he's going to do. We never got to see it. So it's kind of a bummer. So yeah, I'd say, but I also want to include with effects though, the Madman Marz makeup. I think he looked cool and like appropriately like something you might see, but also like something kind of gross and weird. Like, it wasn't great, but I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.
You disagree?
No, I mean, I just like, I was a little like, goes back to what we said. It's the same version, but it was rated differently, like through whatever streaming service or whatever, where I had to ask you, I'm like, hey, did I watch the wrong movie? And I guess, I don't know how much that's effects versus like decisions on, hey, do we show kills or not? Because of budgetary reasons or whatever. I don't know. I'd go B.
I was thinking B too. I think that like, it's kind of minimalist. There's not a lot of effects to be had, but I like Madman Marz's design. I think it's cool.
Oh,
it's
100%.
fun.
So good.
Yeah. And I factor that into it. So yeah, I'm cool with B.
Yeah, I feel like nothing was like
effects.
stand out, like it was going crazy. Madman
Yeah,
Marz was cool, and then like the exposition they had versus the character, because you don't see it till the end with the eye gash and the bitten nose, like fully. You get like glimpses.
you get glimpses of him, and it's very quick though, and I think that's effective. Like, he's got a gross face, but like we don't get a whole look at it until Betsy's face to face with him in the house, which is cool.
Right. Yeah.
All right, B for effects. Next up is music, and I'm gonna give our first ever S.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding because
it was.
It's A.
If we had an S,
If we had an S, it would be an S.
It was
music
so good.
Is so good.
So good.
I love the sound, like the stings and the weird, like it's kind of silly, but it's also like fun silly. Like, I loved every second of it.
Like the fucking Axe has a theme song, basically.
Right?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
even
it
like
made the
even
Axe
to
a
this day,
character.
like down, 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 down. Like, I'll be thinking about that song for like months to come, I'm sure. what a fun, like, man, outdid themselves. It's like the people who did the music didn't realize the movie they were making was like kind of shitty. And it's like, oh, we're just gonna like tear the like roof off with this like sick music that I'm making on like my one keyboard, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
so good. And I'm always a sucker for movies with their own theme song, but when the theme song is this good, again, probably for me, for any theme song for any movie, second only to Killer Clown's March.
Right. Which is so good.
Oh yeah, it's a world-ending banger right there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you a little room because I kind of like rambled about the music.
No. I think
because you know
that's
music
fair.
better than I do too, so
I mean,
you
that's
should
not
probably
really
say
fair.
stuff about. Okay, it's just science.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I get it. But so I think what was interesting to me with the music is they set a tone early, and like I got pretty large Carpenter vibes from this, like where it was like the cool eerie like effects and stuff. The music was good, but I think really where this movie shined was them adding the stings. I mean, like you knew when you heard that noise, he was there somewhere. And like, I think it was effective because you're like, whoa, fuck, where is he? Where is he? You're looking the whole time trying to figure out where Madman Marz is. And sometimes that helped lead to the situation where it's kind of not a jump scare, but like you were kind of like brought to that moment where like you felt like you were not getting killed, but you were with like the actor or actress that's getting like murked, because like you like kind of knew they were there, but you didn't know where they were there. Like, and this is where I drew some parallels with the That's a Lot of Guts movie that we covered, because
In a Violent Nature.
In a Violent Nature, I'm sorry, I haven't seen it, so that's really my problem.
It doesn't help, yeah.
Yeah. So like In a Violent Nature, you always joke like, well, he's like right in the periphery. So like Stacy's walking through the woods and she like just almost gets grabbed, where the axe almost just hits her. Dave had a couple moments like that too before he did the Elden Ring Dark
Before he
Souls
did
rolls.
his from soft dodge rolls.
It's from soft dodge rolls. So I think adding that little extra like panache to the things that are going on helped us like tremendously. Like I think this movie would be, because it has like a 30% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I would argue it would be like a 15 without the music.
I think that the critics are too hard on it. Like
They are, for sure.
yeah. So all right, but A for music. But now it's time for the cult factor, that X factor that makes these movies so special. Shane, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna probably say A for this.
Oh, for sure.
I'm a sucker for like goofy, kind of silly, fun movies. I love how like ridiculous everything is. I love Marz as a villain. Probably my favorite thing though is just the unexpectedly like brutal treatment of Ellie in the middle. It's like, what does she do to get this? But like, yeah, and then the idea that like it was like a skeleton crew of people. Like we have 5 campers and like 6 like counselors. Like, what's happening here? It's like nothing about it makes sense, and I think that endears me to it more than it like hurts it. And it's like, how are you taking people to the campfire by Marz's house all these years and you haven't disturbed him? Unless like, this is kind of where I'd welcome one of your patented not in the movie theories that you always come up with.
Yeah.
It's like maybe Marz is often awakened, and that's why Max went to play cards.
So, okay.
Oh, okay. Do you have a patented not within the movie's text theory?
Yeah, so Max tells this story, and they establish that he always does this, right? And Betsy kind of was like, hey, you shouldn't have been such a douche to the kids, kind of. So I just think it's interesting that he just kind of bails after he tells this creepy story, and Richie just kind of does his bullshit. So like, it was kind of funny because like they don't establish that he's leaving until after Richie does the bullshit. So I wonder if it's just like, well, off to leave, because I felt there was one point where he was like, I'm leaving, like, and it made it seem like it was after the parents leave, not before. So I don't know, but I felt like Max, his name is Max, right? Max.
Yeah.
I also feel like Max knew this a little too well. And I thought it would have been interesting if they would have added in like maybe like a kid that made it I know they changed the legend because of Cropsy, but maybe like one of the kids survived and that's Max, right? And that's how he had ties and owned the camp, because it's on the property. I feel like there's a lot of shit they could have done that they kind of just missed. So
Missed the 3D puzzle game?
yeah,
But no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's definitely like room for more lore, and I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't get any sequels. And now, Joe Giannone is gone, so they can't make one with him again. Because there had been rumors of like a remake or a sequel, a legacy sequel. So none of that came to fruition, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of work a day, but I think it's still satisfying. So I say A for cult factor.
Fair.
Yay! Now, Shane, it's time for the dreaded D-roll.
What?
Any more doubts?
No more doubt. Great moon tonight. Hey, Billy Boy?
Yeah, great mood tonight.
Yeah. Let's go for a swim.
Bessie, where are you?
The D-roll, our hat on a hat, our final category, because we run this podcast. We can do what we want. So the D-roll is where we put it into a final category. It's either cult classic, B movie, grindhouse, or trash. Hopefully we never do trash, but it could happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Mick World. Yeah. So, I mean, you know what I'm thinking.
Trash.
No! Okay, this movie should be shown in high schools.
Well,
Get the
some of
10
the ratings.
Get the 10 Commandments out of there. Get
Charlton
Madman
Heston
in
out of
there.
here.
No, so I'm gonna say cult classic. I didn't this is one of the few movies we've done that I didn't see ahead of time, and I knew about it, but I didn't know much about it. So me watching it for this is like the first time I watched it. What a treat! I loved it. Yeah, maybe it's not scary or original or anything, but like it's just fun and silly and weird enough that I loved every second of it. So yeah, it's not gonna like scare anyone, I don't think, really. But man, watching my man Marz just like, oh, I'm running late, I gotta go. He just like runs like through the field. I gotta be to my next murder. like it's such a frantic. Like, you ever have one of those days where like you have too much to do and not enough time to do it, and you have like a meeting and you're running between thing to thing? I feel like that's the Marz experience. Like
The Marz method.
I got one night to kill all these people, and my psychopathy makes me bring their bodies back to my house. So I have to do it all at once. So he's just running from place to place. Like, I just love that idea so much. But it's but I have to be there to like menace them in the shadows in ways that the characters won't see, but the viewers will. Like, what a day he's had, or night, I guess.
And I think it's interesting too. Like, he as a character was just like trying to kill constantly, but there's like a few times where it's like extra cruel. Like, I think for me, like the car with the head and like he easily could have just killed her. The head decapitation in the car hood, and then just torturing a couple of the characters, especially like, Ellie. It was just,
The Ellie kill is so funny because he kills her
Yeah.
boyfriend, drags his corpse back, then books it back to the camp. It's like, oh, now I got to make her suffer too.
Right.
Meanwhile, she doesn't know where he is, so she's freaking out, falling all over the place. It's just so funny that like he's not even there. Like she was safe for a while and didn't even know it.
Yep.
But he's like, oh, I got to get there though. I gotta make sure there's payoff for all this like groundwork I laid for this cruel death. So funny to me. Like maybe that's gallows humor. Like it's probably not even. It's just funny the way that like he's always like, oh, I gotta go capitalize on my own horror I've wreaked. Like what a guy, that Marz.
cool.
So are we gonna say cult classic? Are you fine with that? You never actually said.
I think it is a cult classic. I'm surprised this isn't talked about more favorably. I saw a lot of negative reviews. Like a lot of people don't like this movie, which I don't really understand because you read their criticisms and I'm like, well, that's kind of why it's good.
It's a bug. It's not a bug. It's a feature. Like
Yeah, right. It's like you do you watch other 80s horror movies? It's like this is kind of like nailing a lot of the tropes. So
they must not like lore of the campfire telling of his horror. I love that song.
Yeah,
We should
it's so
start a band and only do Madman Marz songs. All right. Well, there we go. We did the
We
D-roll.
did it.
We covered a underappreciated gem in the slasher space.
I agree.
And I'm glad we did because what a experience. But the summer
next?
TRI-SLASH-A-THON marches forward. It waits for no man. Was it Dark Side Dave? No. Oh, sorry. He was playing he was playing Humanity, that puzzle game
Oh no.
where you play as Shiba Inu or whatever, like the little dogs.
How could he even understand?
I love the afterlife. I like making humans walk in directions. Well, that is the game, Dave. That is the game. Dave, you're making them walk off cliffs. Yes, they're going to die. No, Dave, they won't. They just respawn. No. Yeah, sorry, Dave. All right. So Dave's playing Humanity, but the summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON moves forward. So
What are they playing?
what is the next and final entry in our second annual summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON? Oh, I guess you want me to announce it, don't you?
I do.
I was thinking out like you're going to. We're going to be doing The Mutilator.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yes. Called in some circles, I think Fall Break.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called Fall Break or The Mutilator. So it's going to be a slasher, but it doesn't take place in summer. It takes place in fall. So sorry about that, but still good.
Summer does exist within the movie.
Well, they go to a beach house, which is very funny. but during the fall, apparently. So The Mutilator is definitely on Tubi. I have assured you of this. Let's see. We got a lot of places it's on. We got Roku channel, Screambox, Fandor, Arrow, Apple TV. It says Amazon Prime. I think it might actually be available. But yeah, The Mutilator. Yeah, The Mutilator, the 1985 movie. A pretty sick banger of a cover for that guy. You'll know it when you see it. So there you go. That's our last one for the summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON. So get mutilating, kids. Is that a good tagline for the Mutilator episode? Although I guess I didn't have a tagline for the Madman episode, like "Get mad, man."
Okay, so what's the other one for Intruder?
You are freaking out, man.
You are freaking out, man.
For Intruder, it's like,
Yeah.
get ready to be intruded. Does that make sense?
Perfect
That's a word.
sense, actually.
It makes 6 cents.
Yeah. So good.
Sorry. I just wanted to say one more thing before we close out.
Yep.
Thank you to Rebel Revolver for our theme song. We love it. We recently shared on our socials a behind the scenes video of it, which was really cool.
I finally figured out how to add stuff to stories from. I didn't know you could do that. So no one told me I was
social
able
media
to.
is hard, dude.
Well, it's like hidden. You like click share, and it's like the last option is to add to story. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Why was I just doing this the whole time? So I did that. Good times.
Yes. They did our theme song. They are pretty active this summer with some shows.
Yeah, they have.
So yeah, check them out. Check out their socials to see upcoming shows and events that you can go to. Sorry, it sounded like I had more to say, but I feel like that's all I need to say. Like, hey, go to this band exists. They did our song.
And then drummer of the show, PC Riley, has written a series of poems and like short stories,
essays too. Yeah,
essays. Yeah, thank you. And half of the proceeds go to the Pittsburgh Humane Society. I think it was a labor of love after he had lost his cat. So go check that out. You can find it pretty much everywhere. Amazon. We did a post about it that has a bunch of links, but it is digital as well. So if you're not into the hard or paperback versions, you can go get it digitally. So yeah, definitely show them some love.
It is available on Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
But he would never say this, but I'm going to say this.
We'll
just
say it.
Pay the money. Half of the money goes to the Humane Society. Like, it's like $10 or something. Like, just do it. Just pay the money. So I will be that guy. I'll be the capitalist shill America needs.
Should get that in writing from you. But yeah.
Well, you have it in audio form. It's probably even better than writing.
Yeah. I need 2 forms. But yeah, so obviously you can get it for free if you're part of that program, but the proceeds do go to help a good cause. I mean, not obviously 100% of it, but a large portion of it goes to support.
50% of it. We've discussed this.
Yeah, for sure. But but I mean, if you look at other charity events and stuff, they usually only do like 10. Like, it's not like 10 or 20, it's not a lot. So he's really committed to helping support like local shelters and stuff. So
that's what I'm saying. Just pay for the money to buy it.
It's huge. Yeah.
It's
also
not that hard.
It's not. Also, thank you to all of the people that support us, listen to the show, new listeners. I always appreciated. We've had a lot of really cool engagement through Instagram, at the Dark Side Drive-In. Facebook is pretty cool too. That's been solid. Twitter's been a dumpster fire, and I don't think that'll ever recover. But we still post there, and I'll answer. But like, man, it's just it is a nightmare.
Do we still post there?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
you haven't posted in a long time, buddy boy.
I don't think that's true. I just don't tag you anymore.
Wow. It's 1920s Paris. I can't believe I'm hanging out with. Can't believe I'm hanging out with Ernest.
It's like Owen Wilson's like, no, we're time travelers. Anyways,
do you remember that movie though? Like, was it Midnight in Paris? He's like, wow, I'm hanging out with expatriates.
Yeah.
I hope I don't see. It was Gertrude Stein. She's going to be doing the autobiography of Alex B. Toklas soon.
Right.
I don't think he says that in that movie, and that's a huge deep cut for people who actually know the literature of the time. So, like, maybe one of our listeners is like, "Ha, I get it."
Maybe you later, like re-listening, you're like, "Oh shit."
Sometimes I'll just put jokes in this podcast for myself for later.
That's a solid plug. But yeah, so thank you to everybody. It do us a favor. It helps us out greatly. Please subscribe or not subscribe. So like the whatever. Like no, but it's following on Spotify. I'm learning about this too.
Click
like,
buttons for engagement.
Yeah. So like, follow the channel. Any review helps us tremendously, even if it's not a great review. Obviously we prefer good reviews, but, we're happy to take criticism wherever we can get it and, share it with a friend. That's kind of how we've been trying to run this. It's just like, hey, we don't want to really advertise too much, just kind of like hang out with people and grow a community where we can kind of joke with each other and say stupid shit online. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. We've been having fun. I mean, I'm having fun. I'm sure, Stefan, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you're having fun. Yeah, we want to keep...
Existence is suffering. No, I'm having a good time.
Yeah, we just want to keep this going. So.
I just hate this.
Right.
I do all this work for nothing.
Yeah. But, well, that's all I had. I don't know if you had any closing thoughts or parting comments about Madman Marz or anything like that.
I did. I had to say one real quick thing.
Sure.
Lore of the campfire, telling of his horror, lost in the woods with the madman and the stars. Don't laugh at the tale, heed if you call him. The legend lives, beware the Madman Marz. The legend lives, beware the Madman Marz.
Solid.
There's a reason I don't sing. You should probably cut that out.
Never. I did one.
We'll lose followers.
I did it by memory, and I should have looked up like how the cadence goes, because it's like it is kind of a weird.
It's
song.
so hard. The legend lives.
So
the
weird,
legend lives. Yes. But I didn't know how to beware the Madman Marz, so I got that going for me.
Right. But you can't say his name above a whisper.
Which again, like, how many times does that happen? Yeah, okay, we don't have to get into that now. We're wrapping up this episode.
Right.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z, the summer TRI-SLASH-A-THON will have the Mutilator. I wrote a song for that one. Mutilation, no breathing. No,
oh no.
Cut my life into pieces. I am a Papa Roach. Bye. Oh, sorry. I just got a text from Papa Roach. He said sued. Oh no! How'd you have my number?
Anyways, well, I've been Shane.
And I've been Stefan.
And you've been listening to The Dark Side Drive-In. And
stay cool. And stay good.
And stay peeled.
Also peeled. And also spook them up.
Bye.
Bye.
He thought he was in control. How wrong he was.
Come to the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in. Come to the dark side, drive-in. It's the dark side, drive-in movie club. From Dynamis Media comes a horror cyclopedia, watching movies from the gates of hell. Covers ripped from a blockbuster shell. Officer Bosch is the only good car. Jugs and the stuff just can't be stopped. Things get hairy and the werewolf's there. Turn the corner and the prowler is there. It's the dark side drive-in. It's the dark side drive-in. Come to the dark side drive-in. It's the dark side drive-in movie club. Shane's the one who runs the show. He produces and keeps the flow. The Savini of the ones and twos. Only Jack Cordell has bigger shoes. Stefan does the bulk of the research. His descriptions just can't be besmirched. Lots and options are the club for more. Just like Lampson, you'll be begging for more. It's the dark side driving. It's the dark side driving. Come to the dark side driving. It's the dark side driving movie club.
From the deepest corner of the darkest universe, two brave hosts battle through nameless hordes of ghoulish monsters most foul, all to bring you the eternal glory of the Dark Side Drive-In.
It's the dark side driving. It's the dark side driving. Come to the dark side driving. It's the dark side driving movie club. It's the dark side driving. Come to the dark side driving. It's the dark side driving. It's the dark side driving movie club.
Thank you. Have a nice